So what is it? I don't even know what they're talking about.
Oh, um, yeah, I would say that. Or I think the main issue people might have with that point is that you say that God has like revealed Himself through divine revelation. Like you say that like He revealed Himself via the Bible, and then people, the response that's most likely to come is people are going to ask you about like whether you've read the Bible to say that like God has revealed Himself via the Bible.
Yeah, but it's like never dealing with like I'm trying to make an argument, like, and it's kind of frustrating being a precept because no one ever wants to actually address the precept. They always want to dance around it and like, talk about Bible stories and stuff.
How so?
Well, to I don't think that. Well, obviously, because I run the argument, I don't think there really is a response to the argument. It's legitimate because you'd have to like give me a single unifying principle that you would have to know somehow, I guess, apart from revelation or something. Like there's no way out of the precept argument for an atheist, I don't think. So then they avoid dealing with the argument, and then they just like want to talk about, oh, but God did this bad thing in the Bible and commanded this bad thing, and they want to make the argument conversation about that rather than the precept.
Wait, so you basically ask people like what's the one unifying principle that allows them to ground things in reality, and they take the conversation into God did something bad in the Bible. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, they never like because they're gonna have to say that they don't know what that thing is. Well, they might say, well, I think it exists, but they couldn't really tell me anything about it. You couldn't defend it, so they don't want to talk about that. But that's the whole thing. What precept is about making our how is it that we can make sense of the world that we're in, and we think like God's revelation answers the question, whereas like no one else can really. Like the skeptical problems that David Hume brought up 200 years ago in philosophy have never been answered. Philosophers just ignore Hume and keep doing philosophy. But Hume made some really good points about how observation doesn't really get us to knowledge. It kind of, we have to assume all these things are true. He called it a habit of the mind, that our mind just has a habit of thinking this way. And we can't explain it. We can't observe it. We can't like deduce it from human reason as to why these things are, like causality, uniformity of nature, identity over time. There's a lot of them.
Oh, I would just say that. What do I have to say to that?
There's no one has a really good answer to Hume. They kind of just ignore it and then just keep doing philosophy. And they go, oh, well, no one can answer these questions, so whatever, or something.
Is the question like how are we able to ground these things, and we're just simply observing them in reality?
Well, the idea is like an empiricist wants to say that all knowledge comes from sense data, but then there's like problems because Hume talked about cause and effect. He said we have one event, we observe one event, a cause, and then there's a second event, which would be the effect. And he says we never observe the force or the principle that connects the events together. And so he said that everything is like loose and disjointed. There's no connections between anything within empiricism. And that's what like God's revelation solves. God's like the single unifying principle, which means he's like the glue in the system that connects everything together. Or you, I think Bonson described it as like the if you think of like a pearl necklace or something, God is like the string that connects all the pearls together that need to be connected to make sense of reality, basically.
Yeah, but I think whenever you include God into that, right, you then have to like justify or substantiate that God exists, I guess. But also like with cause and effect, I don't really see like why you would need something to connect cause to effect. Like let's say that let's say I threw a basketball at somebody and the effect is that the basketball like hit their face. Do I need something to explain like why me throwing a basketball is connected to a basketball hitting somebody in the face?
Yeah, because you believe they're connected, but you don't observe the connection. That's the issue.
I threw a basketball at somebody, it hit them in the face.
I know it sounds weird, but it's. I mean, this is what David Hume's argument. It kind of sounds weird to people. They don't. A lot of people don't get it when I bring it up to them. And he's an atheist philosopher. I'm not. This isn't a Christian. I'm not like appealing to people on my side. I like to appeal to atheist philosophers because I don't want to be accused of bias. You know.
Yeah. Okay. But actually, so really quick, I do have two guests in my chat.
That's cool. Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, come back anytime. Hey, Mr. Peppy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty okay. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Mars ran away because he knows that he can't prove his claims and the presuppositional arguments. And he just copies another creator by the name of Darth Dawkins.
Wait, hold on. I don't think he ran away. I just told him that I had two other guests. So I had to move on to the next guest. So it was kind of me like ushering him out, but not really ushering. But I did say that I had other guests. It wasn't him dipping. I just had to. Oh wait, did he drop? Or maybe something went wrong with his connection. I don't know. But hey guys, there's 28 people in here. That's actually the most I've had doing these 1v1s. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the likes. Please continue to tap your screens, like, and share it to other people who might be interested in 1v1ing me. But yeah, I'm having these debates on TikTok. I'm streaming it to YouTube and Twitch. Thank you guys for being here, and we're going to continue the 1v1s. Today I'm not really doing debates, but I can do debates. It's Casual Talk Tuesday, so I'm more so doing conversations, but I can do debates. Hey, Grace.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not gonna debate you, but I'm asking, are you Christian? Like, I'm just confused. Are you not Christian, or are you like in between? Like, what? Like, just so I can get some context.
I'm agnostic, but I do lean toward
Okay.
atheism. I'm skeptical of Christianity.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
I'm open to God existing, but like it doesn't really
yeah.
seem like it does.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna debate you or like gonna argue with you about Christianity because honestly, I'm Presbyterian and Presbyterians, we don't really enforce the Bible, we really just study it. But I do encourage people to read the Bible and just at least study it because while I can understand why some people won't believe it, it's always good, especially if you're interested in religion, to just like look into it because I feel like it's a very impactful book for people to learn from. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I probably need to do like a good rereading of it. I have like bits and pieces, but there's a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, yeah, it's always good to I know the Bible's a big book and it can be kind of intimidating to read the whole thing, but getting, the basic overview of it before, fully, like, I'm not saying you judge it. I've never really seen you on TikTok before, so I'm not gonna, judge you for anything. But, before you fully judge it, just like read the book and, really, really take into account each verse because there's a lot of impact behind the Bible, a lot that people tend to overlook at times.
Okay.
Yeah,
But cool. Yeah, I'll take that into consideration. Anything
awesome.
else? Anything else you
Nope.
got for me?
Have a good day.
Okay, I'll see you around, Grace. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
And next person, I guess. Let me do this person. Hey, layman, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, doing all right.
Good. Um, so I think that I can't read all of it. I think it says, "Why should I believe in the Christian God?
Yeah.
Can you convince me that he exists or that he could?"
Yep, that's what it says.
Okay. So I'm assuming you don't believe in God or you don't believe in the Christian God.
Yeah, I'm open-minded to him existing, but I do lean towards atheism and science and empiricism. And yeah, I'm doing research on atheism and Christianity and other worldviews to see like which worldview is the most probable and figure out what I want to believe in or do believe in.
Nice. Okay. So right now you're still evaluating, but you're leaning towards atheist.
Yeah. I was raised Roman Catholic, and I've had a lot of debates and conversations with people, and have evaluated some information. And I kind of lean towards atheism. I don't really see Christianity being probable, but I'm not at a point where I can say like God doesn't exist. I'm sort of still trying to like study things and figure out what disposition I want to have.
Okay. What happened to make you move away from Catholicism?
Oh,
Was there like something that stood out that made you concerned or
basically like so I grew up Roman Catholic, and then I started working jobs when I was like a sophomore in high school. But I graduated high school, and at one of my pizza jobs, I started like I wanted to be like a missionary and save people from going to hell. But I debated some people at this like pizza job that I had, and I wasn't like the most learned Christian, but like they destroyed me with like the conversations that we had and like the debates that we had.
I've been there.
So like growing up, I was like surrounded by Christians, and like all I knew was Christianity. I thought like Christianity was the truth. So I went back into my community and started doing research, and I found out that like people didn't really read their Bibles. People didn't really know anything about Christianity or study it. Like a majority of people are kind of like, I'm doing Christianity because like my parents told me to do it, and like they don't really
Right.
know much about it. And you know, there are a few like scholars or a few people who are a little bit above the average Christian. And upon doing that, um, people didn't really give me good answers. These atheists brought contradictions to me, and then I went through some stuff like Christians treating me poorly and spitting on me and stuff like that. But also there were a lot of good Christians too. But I just kind of got to a point where life got hard. I dropped out of college, and I kind of just decided to like leave the faith. And from there, I became a nihilist because I thought God was gonna like reveal his purpose to me and guide me through life and tell me what I was supposed to be, like maybe vocally or through some kind of sign. But that wasn't working, and there was all these problems I was having with Christianity. So I became nihilist. Then like a year later, I became like kind of bitter and became like a hard atheist, where if anyone said that they were Christian, I wanted to ask them questions and debate them because Christianity didn't work for me, so I wanted to tear Christianity for them.
Mhm.
Like a year passed, and then I became a soft Christian, a soft atheist. So like I, you know, stopped antagonizing people so much, and I started coming to terms with it not being true. And then I became agnostic, where now I'm, kind of open-minded, trying to deal with religious trauma, figure out if Christianity is probable or not, or if it's more probable that God doesn't exist, and find my peace in something, believe in something, and kind of find where I fit. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so that was yeah, thanks for sharing that, man. pretty similar road to me too. I grew up in a Roman Catholic church, stopped really paying attention in high school, didn't go to church in college, my 20s, just completely abandoned it. And then towards like my mid to late 20s, I really started coming back around because I was looking for a way for God to help me be more successful in life. And lo and behold, when I actually took the time this time around to actually dive into scripture and study it for myself versus just being attached to my family as a Christian, his message really started to blossom in my heart. And I understood that, you know, there's a point, there's a purpose for this text existing today. And it's a spiritual weapon to help us, you know, take down strongholds in our mind and have eternal life. It's there to teach you something about the invisible. And I sort of had a, you know, I was sort of in a position with similar to you in the sense that like there's so many different religions and faiths and directions you can head in out there. Like, which one do you choose? And so I really just started to have to like, I had to ask myself, like, what ultimately is it that I'm looking for out of this decision, whether I be an atheist or a Christian. And, well, maybe I'll ask you that question. Like, what is it that you're hoping to find on this journey of yours?
I guess like I used to think that like I used to want closure. I used to think that like if I do research, then eventually like one day something's gonna snap in my brain and boom, Christianity's real. My eyes open and like it's 100% certainty, like 100% proven that Christianity is real. But there's so much information out there. So like we're never gonna be able to like whatever the truth is, we're never gonna be able to like fully comprehend or understand the truth. We'd have to read like every single book out there. So I think I want to get to a point where I've studied enough information to where I can be in a position where I'm like, okay, I have a confidence level that Christianity either exists or like it doesn't exist. And I don't have to worry about like, I'm going to go to hell. I don't have to worry about like, whether God exists. I think there'll be a point where I've studied so much to where like I'll have a confidence level that like I'll be able to say, I haven't read everything, but I think with what I've read, Christianity does or doesn't exist, and I can live in peace with that.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you're ultimately looking for closure. You're looking to get to a point where you can finally say securely, like, this is the answer that I'm going to hang my hat on for the rest of my life, and that ultimately is going to give you a sense of peace.
Yeah, and hopefully at that point I'll even be okay with the fact that I haven't read everything. And what I've read will hopefully give me like a sort of grounding and like an okay like resting place. Not that I'll stop studying, but like it'll be like, okay, with what I have, I'm, I know what I believe in and I could always change my beliefs. But right now, I don't feel like I have enough to say that God doesn't exist or enough to say that Christianity does exist. And I guess like it wasn't really trauma, but like whenever I debated the atheist and like this thing that I believed in so strongly, I was really passionate and like conservative and I believed in God. And I had this worldview and I had like this grounding, right? Whenever I debated the atheist and my world sort of like broke, and it's like, oh my gosh, this thing that I thought was like perfect doesn't make sense and has flaws. And the ground beneath me kind of like ripped open and I fell basically. That kind of gave me this fear of like, I don't want to live my life believing something that's not true and be delusional. I want, like, if I make sacrifices for Christianity, if I believe in something, right, I want it to be true. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, so if you're looking ultimately for contentment and peace, and you had that to begin with, it seems like you're kind of going in another direction now where you've lost that thing that you're ultimately looking for.
Or I guess I lost it when I was debating atheist after high school, but now I guess I'm looking for another ground to find my resting place.
Mhm. Well, if peace is the ultimate thing that you're looking for, does it matter so much whether or not it's Christianity or atheism? Like, if does the vehicle matter so much as the outcome? I guess is what I'm wondering.
Um, yeah, I guess like yeah, the vehicle doesn't really matter to me. If I end up becoming Christian and Christianity makes the most sense, then sure. If I end up becoming atheist, and that makes the most sense, then sure. I guess like what I'm mainly chasing is like what makes the most sense. More accurate? What's the most accurate descriptor of the reality that we live in? Is it Christianity? Is it atheism? Which one makes the most sense? Which one cancels out the other arguments? But yeah, I just want to know like what's the most probable truth. It doesn't really matter to me what it is. It could be nihilism. It could be deism. Kind of just evaluating.
And you think that if you read enough material, you'll finally get to a point where the light bulb will go off?
Maybe, or maybe like I'll get to a point where I'm like satisfied. And then if someone was to walk up to me and ask me like, "Hey, what do you believe in?" I can be like, "I'm Christian." And you know, it's because I've took time to evaluate it and I've come to this conclusion. Or I'm atheist, and it's because I've taken time to evaluate it and I've come to this conclusion. Even then, I'll still be open-minded to change my beliefs.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man, it sounds like you're on the right track. Yeah, it sounds like I mean, you're probably you're probably around the same age as me. I'm 32.
Oh,
You might be a little younger than I am.
I'm 26.
Yeah, a little bit younger. But you're going through the exact same thing that I was going through like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing I actually switched from Catholicism to Protestant. And one of the things that really kind of pulled me in that direction was my father, who was also converted over to Protestant. He told me, like, I ultimately realized that I had to make my own choice. When I was a kid, when I was a baby, my parents baptized me in the Catholic Church, and I grew up in it, and I went to church with them every single Sunday. But I really didn't pay attention. I didn't make a commitment. I went because my parents took me. But then my pastor told me, like, you know, no. Every individual, God's going to hold every individual responsible for their own choices and actions. And I needed to make a choice to love him because he's loved me. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I'm like, you know what? I need to study this more. I need to know who this Jesus guy is. I need to know what he has to offer me. And it really kind of just opened up it was really the catalyst that gave me the curiosity to explore who he was. So I commend you for it, man. Sounds like you're really on the right track, and I think you know, just stick with it. Jesus is awesome. I have nothing but great things to say about him. I find a lot of peace and comfort in him. It sounds like you're looking for that too. And you know, I really just kind of got to the point where I was like, you know, I could spend the rest of my life debating with atheists why there is no God, why, you know, Christianity isn't real. But at the end of the day, all I really would be left off with is, you know, a small sense of pride that I won some debates and won some conversations. And I still would never even really know at the end of the day if I was right or not until I die. And that just seemed like a really miserable way to live my life. So Christianity became obvious for that reason and many other reasons, because life is short and I want to be comfortable while I'm here. And man, does he offer that in spades. He offers that in spades. So I think that's probably why, you know, you should be a Christian. You know, life's too short. There's a lot of beautiful things out there that we can do with our time serving him.
Yeah.
And
I mean, but I could also do that while being atheist, right?
how are you going to serve God while you're an atheist?
I mean, but I could do like humanitarian work while I'm atheist, and like that can make me happy, right?
It can, but there's something more beautiful and more glorious about doing those things for a good purpose versus just for myself or just because other people think it's a good thing for me to do.
Well, yeah,
Doing it because,
like maybe my purpose is just to make the world a better place. How would you know that like serving God is like more pleasurable than like just making the world a better place and doing humanitarian work? Um, like how would you be able to like empirically test and like measure like the level of happiness and gratification from both of those endeavors? And
oh,
say,
you gotta test it with the genuineness of your heart. You gotta say for the next 6 months, I'm just gonna go out there and I'm gonna do this because, I want to, and I think it's good for the world. And then the next 6 months, I'm gonna go and do this, but I'm gonna do it because God is telling me to go do it, because, or rather, because I'm serving Him. Right? Like I forget the exact passage in Scripture, but Jesus, I think it's Jesus, says something along the lines of don't work for your don't do your job as if you're working for earthly masters. Do it as if you're working for the Lord Himself. And what He's trying to get across there is that there's infinitely, going out and doing something good for somebody else because you think it's the right thing to do. You get to pat yourself on the back for a few minutes and maybe get some praise for some other people. But once that's over with, I mean, you got to go back out and you got to do it again and then do it again and do it again and keep getting those hits over and over again. Whereas if you go out and do the same thing as if Jesus Himself came down and gave you an assignment, every moment of every second of that task, you're just on cloud nine because you're working for the boss. You're working for the big man upstairs. And then once it's over and you're successful, you get to look back at that for the rest of your life.
but isn't that kind of like the same thing? Like you're doing something good and you feel good and you know you're doing it for God, right? And then you keep doing more things in order to like satisfy God, and you keep getting those hits over and over again. It would be the same thing as if like I'm atheist and I do something good and people are praising me for it, and like I get a hit from those people and I feel good because I'm serving the people, and I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, getting the hits. So it's like both people are serving like a purpose and like critiquing one because they're getting like some kind of short-term boost of serotonin in their brain. I mean, like they're basically like a mirror. You're still getting the same serotonin and kind of doing that repetitive behavior in Christianity as you would as an atheist.
Yeah, I mean, we work for the Lord out of gratitude. We don't do it in order to obtain something, right? So, like, I love Jesus so much because of what He's done for me on the cross that all I want to do every day moving forward is serve Him. It's an act of gratitude. I want to do it. I'm not doing it to obtain something, which is the other option.
Well, I mean, like some people might be doing that under the atheist perspective, right? They're just doing it out of gratitude and like they want to help people, and they some people are doing it because they don't want anything. They just want to help the world be a better place, and they get gratitude out of that. So it's like people who are doing it for God and people who are doing it for the world, and it's kind of like a symmetry breaker. They're both doing it and like for their selective purposes. They're both getting like serotonin out of it, and they're both repetitively doing it and getting like boost after boost after boost. So like, what's the symmetry breaker? Why would it be more? Why would it be better to do it for God than to do it for like a secular atheist purpose?
It's the grace and the glory that you get by doing it with God. I don't know how to explain it differently. It's like, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm just like, for me, I would rather have a sense of, I would rather have His grace all day long, uninterrupted, instead of constantly having to go out and find the next hit. Because I'm doing things for Him continuously, I'm obeying Him, even though I don't want to. The act of doing it for a higher purpose, Him specifically, not just any good cause, but specifically for Him, He just blesses you with grace and mercy and love. It's this circle that constantly is fulfilling itself all day long. Whereas if I just went out and I did something good for somebody because I want to be a good person, it sort of just dies right there. There's nothing wrong with it. It's noble of the individual, but you've got to constantly keep doing those things in order to get that hit, and then it goes away. you don't have the grace afterwards like you do with the Lord.
Okay. So actually, I do have one person in the guest box, but I love this conversation, and actually, I probably even want to continue it with you. But
Yeah, yeah,
once I get to them. But if you stick around, I could probably bring you up when there's no more guests.
yeah. I'll give you a follow. I can
I'll
sit
follow you.
here.
Okay.
You know, if you guys want to ask me a question or whatever, I can just I can pop back in.
Or yeah, let me drop you and do like a 1v1 with them, but I can bring you up when there's no more guests.
All right, that sounds cool. I'll probably swing through and come back then. But
Okay.
I followed you, so I'm sure we'll connect again soon.
Okay, and I'll follow you because like I do this thing where like everyone who follows me, I like follow them back, and I send them like a pre-made message, and then have a conversation with them to show support to the people who support me. So I'll give you a follow back.
Nice, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem at all. But yeah,
All
this
right,
was an
man. Have a
awesome.
good one.
This was like I actually enjoyed this. This is probably my favorite conversation today.
Me too, man. Yeah, good conversation.
Yeah.
I like a good, respectful conversation versus people just yelling over each other. You know, that gets old.
Yeah. Today, like, I guess, like, I'm liking the conversations more because, like, my brain's overwhelmed with, like, work and stuff. But other days, like, I like the rough debates and, like, you know, I like the adrenaline rush it gives me. But I think today I'm kind of just wanting to have conversations and slow down for a little bit.
For sure, man. Yeah, we'll talk again.
Okay. But yeah, I'll see you around. Thank you for
Take it
coming
easy.
on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
And before I bring up the next guest, if you're in the guest box, I do see you. Let me just say this really quick. Thank you guys for the likes. I really appreciate it. The likes help me get on the For You page and help more people come into my live. I am streaming on TikTok and to YouTube and to Twitch. So hi YouTube, hi Twitch, hey TikTok. Thank you guys all for watching. Also, thank you guys for the gifts. The gifts help me to do this for a living and to do more lives. I want to, you know, host debates, debate people, have conversations, and share my journey on studying different worldviews and sharing the knowledge that I obtain, hopefully to educate others with the world, right? And thank you guys for helping me do that. I want to educate people, but I also want to entertain people. But yeah, host debates, debate people, conversations. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'll bring up the next guest. I don't know who was first, but let me go with the bottom person, and then I'll get to the next person. Is that DJ? DJ, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Hanging in there.
That's good. That's good. Can I get your name, or well, what you'd go by?
I don't give out my personal name, but people call me Mr.
Yeah.
Coco.
Mr. Huh?
Mr. Coco. 'Cause, like,
Mr. Coco. Okay.
the name of this project, like my account, is the Controversial Compass. So it's COCO, Controversial Compass. So it's just Mr.
All right.
Coco.
Sounds good. So I'll call you Mr. Coco then.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Why should I believe in the Christian God?
Yeah.
So are you asking this in like a let's say an epistemological sense?
I guess it's like this might not sound the most educated, but like in any sense out there. So it depends on whatever direction you want to go in. I'm willing to listen to like any way
Okay.
you'd like to convey your reasons as to why I should be a Christian.
Okay, so that's fine. So I take it like the only way that I would be a Christian, and I am a Christian, is if I thought that it was true of the world, right? Meaning that it corresponded with reality. And I think it does. And so that's why I'm a Christian, not because it's like, because I think it's a good moral system, even though I do, not because I think that it makes me feel good inside, even though it definitely does at some points. But ultimately because I think that it has truth value in it. So that's what I'm going to come at you with, because that's what I relate to. Okay.
Why do you think it corresponds with reality? Atheism or deism or other worldviews? Have you explored those?
Yes, I have. So I think we first need to talk about the kind of elephant in the room, which is whether or not God exists, right? So this is kind of what we could call an argument for theism, or we should consider theism before we consider like specific species of theism, and Christianity would be a specific species of theism, right?
Okay.
So the first question we need to ask is, does God exist, or can we rationally justify it in believing that God exists? And I think the answer to both of those is yes. And one way we would like to look at that is, let's just do what science does, and let's ask the question: when scientists are studying particular phenomena, they will posit hypotheses to explain why the phenomena is happening, right? And whatever evidence is out there that supports one particular hypothesis' explanation of that data, that hypothesis is going to be favored over and against the rival hypotheses. So, like, one instance that's pretty famous is the Big Bang versus the steady state model of the universe. This was a question that was, or an argument that was had within cosmology for about 2 decades. And there were 2 major pieces of evidence: the cosmic microwave background radiation, and then the red shifting of light. Both of those things kind of settled the case for the Big Bang theory over and against the steady state theory. And so the Big Bang kind of, we know what the Big Bang is, and the steady state basically said that the universe has always existed, essentially. But because of those 2 pieces of evidence, most people, pretty much everyone, I don't know anyone that would champion the steady state model now. Everyone moved over to some version of the Big Bang theory as like their preferred theory for cosmic origins, right?
Oh, interesting. Actually, this is the first time that I've heard of the steady state theory, but I think people sort of have argued that in front of me, because some people I know believe in an infinite regression. So, like, the universe existed eternally. So I guess they were hinting at the steady state theory, but they never really said that to me.
Yep.
Now that
the steady state theory wouldn't posit infinite regression. It just posits. I'm sorry?
Would it or would it not?
I guess it would, in a sense. Yeah, it would. But that's, like, I think most people, when I talk to most atheists and they accept like an infinite regress, typically they're talking about something like a cosmic inflationary model, and that's different than the steady state. That's another competing hypothesis to the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Kind of to jump off from there, the reason why I brought that up is to kind of prime you to the idea of, like, we should look for what in reality corresponds to a particular hypothesis proposed. So the question we need to ask is, what would we expect what to look like if some hypothesis is true, right?
Yeah.
So what would we expect the universe to look like if
really quick, you're breaking up a little bit.
it exist?
You got some red bars, so you're kind of cutting in and out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at a hotel room.
Oh, no, we're good. I would say just do a quick check of your connection and then test it. Let me
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let's see if that works.
Okay, yeah, it's on mine now for work, so I'm not at home. Can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yeah. Now you sound better.
Okay, good. All right. Where was I? Did you?
So you were talking about
Did you
how, yeah, so you mentioned the Big Bang and the steady state theory, and you're basically talking about how, like, when we pose a hypothesis, or essentially when we're trying to figure out like what's the hypothesis, we're basically like posing a hypothesis and seeing like if reality correlates to that hypothesis.
Yes, yeah. Also, to answer the not the real Dwight, my name is actually DJ. That's my nickname, but it is my name. It's what everyone calls me. I'm not actually a disc jockey. Anyways, so and yeah, Fred Hoyle did push the steady state theory, but so we would ask ourselves the question: what would we expect reality to look like given the truth of some hypothesis, right? And then if we find things in reality that confirm like our suspicions about that hypothesis, then that's evidence for the hypothesis, right? So if I think that the universe, or what we know of as the universe, began to exist at some point in time, if space-time began to exist at some point in time in the finite past, I would expect to see something like cosmic microwave background radiation or something like the redshift of light in the universe. And so those things would confirm my initial hypothesis, and so that becomes then an operating theory that we can go by. So I know a lot of Christians and I know a lot of theists would go and they would say something like, well, you can't really use the scientific method to come to any conclusion about God because God is outside of the universe. God is beyond nature, so he is super nature, so we can't say anything about God when we're talking about, like, we can't argue from something in the universe to God because he's beyond that. And I think that is entirely wrong, right? If God created the universe and God interacts with the universe, we ought to be able to see him interacting with the universe. And if he doesn't, then we literally have no evidence. So I don't know if we want that. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna cut you guys.
Oh. While he's doing that, everyone, please tap the screen and tap the screen to like the live and share with anybody who you think would want to discuss with me. Thank you guys for being here. There's 13 people in the room. I appreciate you guys being here. Also, thank you for the gifts. They help me to do this more often and maybe do this for a living. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. And life is good. I'm like really tired. My brain is like bouncing all over the place and like focusing on a bunch of different things, but I am trying to focus on this, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I'm hearing everything the guests are saying. I'm also streaming to YouTube and Twitch. Hello YouTube, hello Twitch. And I hope you guys are liking this conversation. Oh yeah, DJ, yeah, feel free to drop down and come back when you're ready. But yeah, I don't really have any guests in the guest box right now, or let me check and see. Oh, I do have somebody. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was Friday. He said the new format is better. Thank you. I kind of want to sort of try to see if I can make it in social media. And so I'm kind of like doing 1v1s because those tend to do better. And my idols, people I look up to, are doing that, and they're pretty successful. You know, we have like Cosmic Beauty, Dean, Parker, Average Justin. Shout out to those people. They're on TikTok. Yeah, I'm showing my face. I'm changing my profile picture. I'm doing things that tend to work with some of the more successful people on TikTok. I'm trying to see if I can, do it differently and kind of like take my shot at like trying to be successful with this. But okay, so that guest timed out. You were loading for a little bit, so I guess I'm just waiting for the next guest, and I guess this gives me a little time to rest. Just rest my brain, and like my brain is trying to calm down, but it's been a lot recently. Life has been a lot. Oh, bloody hell. But thank you guys for liking the live. I see you guys tapping your screen. Yeah, thank you, Graham. The panels, The panels do tend to get hectic. What's the cause of the universe? So, why Nico? Oh, the text is cut off. Mob, tell me what you can see from your screen. Yeah, tell me what you can see, and then it might just be that it's showing everything that you need to see. There's no more text, but tell me what you can see. Then we'll go from there. But why Nico? I simply just say, like, I don't know what created the universe. Yes, everything does need like a source, because I do believe in the law of thermodynamics. You can't create something out of nothing. I do need to go review the laws of thermodynamics because I think that's in a controlled environment, but it might not need to be in a controlled environment. But yeah, you can't create something out of nothing. But I don't have enough evidence to say for sure what created everything, right? So I just say, like, I'm agnostic to it. I don't know. I do subscribe to the Big Bang Theory, and I believe that's how our universe kind of panned out from T0. But yeah, I don't really have compelling evidence to believe that it's God. Just because everything needs a source doesn't mean that we can then throw God in there, right? We just know that there's a source. We have to investigate and look at all of the evidence to determine what is that source. What is its characteristics? Is it a mind? Is it not a mind? But I haven't seen anything that would compel me to believe that it's God. I have a guest, and I'm gonna invite the guest up. Aurora, I think I was talking to you today.
Yes, I was writing on your comment section. We might be preaching to the choir with on this topic between you and me. That's what I kind of learned. But I was just curious, how long have you been an atheist, and do you feel good being able to talk about it in public now?
Give me one sec. Or actually, let me respond to this out loud. Oh, Mob. You typed what you could see on my screen, and yeah, all the text is on the screen. There's nothing missing. It might look like it's cut off, but it's not cut off. But so I was raised Roman Catholic. I became a nihilist, then a hard atheist, a soft atheist, and right now I'm agnostic. So yeah, and actually, when I left Roman Catholicism and became an atheist, I did feel a lot more free. I wasn't really afraid of hell, and it took some time for me to get used to doing things that I used to feel guilty about, like going to bars or going to clubs, dancing, hanging out with particular friends. But over time, as I keep affirming to myself that God doesn't exist and kind of breaking away from the usual Christian habits and atmosphere, I did feel a lot more free, a lot more happy, and less trying to be obedient to God and worried about hell. But I still, from time to time, have fears of hell. And I am working on going to see a therapist for that. And doing my research to sort of get to a place where I can say God does exist or doesn't exist and not have those fears of hell. And honestly, it's even those fears that have kept me from like dating. I'm trying to figure myself out and figure out what I believe in and get to a good place where I love myself and I can be with somebody and not worry about like Christianity and stuff. But yeah, just trying to sort things out.
Do you feel fears of, for example, speaking out on social media? And I'll explain a tiny bit myself because I've been on social media for a very long time related to the internet and had a YouTube channel at one time that was popular in a niche. But I started speaking out saying that I was a non-believer, and that actually destroyed views, and people left because I was speaking out against religion. So do you feel any of those repercussions, or do you think we're actually progressing? Because I thought back then, like maybe 8 to 10 years ago, we had progressed, but then I found out that no, we really hadn't. So how do you feel about that?
I feel hit or miss. It's like hit and miss. I started my channel as I think like, I guess I started my channel out as like a soft atheist. Like, I wasn't really challenging people on their beliefs, but then like I guess as I talk to more people, and as I go through struggles in life, I sort of have my moments where I'm like a hard atheist, and I'm like, if someone says that they're Christian, I'm like pressing them, or I'm pressing Christians pretty hard and making fun of the Christian God. But as of right now, yeah, I'm agnostic, and no, I haven't really felt I haven't really felt that. I joined TikTok with a lack of belief in God, and most of my followers and have been atheists, and Christians have followed me, and they've been really nice. But I also have had my I've also had my bad experiences with Christians. But nobody has really like followed me or unfollowed me because of my lack of belief in God.
Well,
So
that's good to hear, because then it has me thinking that we are making progress, because the internet is actually really more of a diverse place where people can feel free to talk about things, or sometimes it just depends. Sometimes there's mismatches, but then other times, you get matched with someone who has an identical belief to you, and I suppose depending on what you want to put on the live stream, I was thinking I've found that a lot of people who are really, really devout believers, they block and even on YouTube, they'll block when you ask, because it's like been thriving myself, wanting to ask questions about the Bible, or talk about, certain verses and phrases, revelations, and found some Christians will not talk about revelations because they said it's too challenging. And so I find it strange sometimes, and maybe I don't know about you, but strange why they go on the internet and just want to read the verses instead of discuss them. Did you find that when you were Catholic?
um, I would say sort of. Yeah, when I was Catholic, there wasn't really much focus on like understanding the Bible. Um, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and like we talked about it, but there wasn't like in depth like Bible study. I went to like Sunday school, so like I kind of went to this school thing on Sunday, and every now and then we talk about the Bible, but we didn't do like a deep, super thorough deep dive into the Bible. It was a lot of like Christian parties and hanging out with Christians and socializing, and every now and then uh, a Bible verse and like maybe a quote or two here and there. But no, there wasn't like a deep dive. And then with my interactions on TikTok, um, I guess with my interactions on TikTok, I haven't been on TikTok that long, so I can't compare it to like years of Sunday school. But TikTok in a short span of time is a lot of people diving into Bible verses and looking at the words and like what they are in Hebrew, comparing translation to the original text, and there's a lot of that deep dive. Um, but then yeah, there's a lot of Christians that ignore certain verses in the Bible and then pick certain verses to look at and stuff like that. Also, speaking of people blocking me, because of me not believing in God, there was this one person I used to talk to. I think their name was like Bree or something. And yeah, that person was kind of like really bitter and kind of dogging me because I'm not a believer, or being mean to me or criticizing me for being friends with a Satanist, even though some Satanists have treated me better than some Christians have. And she was always like just being kind of bitter to me because I was like a non-believer. And I kind of told her off one day. I kind of got like tired of her being mean to me, even though I was continuously being nice to her, and she was like being mean to me all the time. So like there was just this one time where I had enough, and I told her what it is. And yeah, I haven't seen her since. I think she stopped getting on the app, but maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. But she was being unnecessarily mean. So
Well, and that's the thing that's hard, when you compare it to real life. And that's something I've heard on the internet. Or some people will say, well, if you wouldn't do it in real life, why would you do it on the internet? But sometimes, like with the communications in real life, people are afraid of confrontation. So when you have a friend, it's you like that person, but then the communication becomes hard. But then on the internet, it becomes easy. The communication is easy, and then sometimes people will take things out on someone on the internet for something else that someone else did, but then then they're mean to someone else for that reason, but it's something someone else did. And like I've always thought, well, with religion, I can't figure out why they want to push so hard for people to believe in religion, because I've thought I'm a non-believer, and I've always felt like it should be a choice. Either you want to believe, you want to go to church, or you don't. I'm not pushing anybody to be a non-believer. I just want to have a discussion about Bible verses, parables, phrases, things in the Bible that didn't make sense to me that I can compare to real life. But I'm not pushing anybody to not believe. I never did. But oh my gosh, people got so angry at me in real life and on the internet at the same time for not wanting to believe, and how I was raised, because I am older than you. And so both my parents and grandparents were always, throughout my whole adult life, when are you going to go to church? Have you found a church yet? It just kind of gets old, because then you feel like when you go back to visit your parents after you leave home, you feel like it's a lie because they want you to go to church. And I always thought, why? And I never got anything out of praying either, because to me it felt like praying to Mickey Mouse or something, a fairy tale.
Yeah. Oh no, like that's relatable. No, that is relatable. I understand. Like, I've heard for like a lot of atheists or people who like leave religion, whenever they're leaving, telling people that they don't believe in God anymore results in like abuse or maybe mistreatment from Christians. It comes as a shock. Like, how could you not believe in God? I think like a lot of Christians, I would say a good chunk. I think the average Christian doesn't really like study their Bible or like deep dive into it. And then like, from average, you have like people who are more learned about their faith. But yeah, like, once you start pointing out contradictions and like certain points, then, certain Christians are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know about this. And that kind of starts the crumbling down of like the Christian worldview.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I've heard stories of like people who they asked questions in church while they were Christian and they got their heads bashed into a wall. And then, in the Catholic Church, we have all the essay allegations with the priest. So a lot of Christians can be mean, but it's not all Christians. I've met a lot of good Christians. And yeah, I've heard people who left Christianity and they were treated a bad way. I've heard people who've come out as gay, and like their parents kind of threw them out of the house because of their Christian beliefs. So that tends to happen. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it really is unfortunate. I mean, and the thing is, it's like, I never thought of my parents I just thought of them more as overbearing hover parents related to Christianity, and I did call it an indoctrination, even as a young age, as a young woman in my early 20s. I thought of it as an indoctrination because there's an amount of control in the sense of, if you say the wrong thing against God, we were supposed to capitalize God because it was a first name, and you're not supposed to use the Lord's name in vain. I don't know. No, we did something called confirmation because Lutheran is a break off from the Catholic Church. And I don't know if you did catechism or not.
The Catholics have a book called the Catechism that has like all of the official beliefs of the Catholic Church. But
Yeah.
I did do confirmation when I was a Catholic.
You did or you didn't?
Oh, I did. I got like confirmed, or I partook in the sacrament of confirmation.
Yeah, well, I guess for I never understood it because I always thought that I was baptized as a baby, and so I thought, because they always teach that you're born with sin, which I think is unfortunate because sin then always just has people thinking that everything they do is wrong, and that was something I always felt. But confirmation was confusing, and and this was kind of funny. My mom told me a story that the pastor sent all of us home from confirmation and told all the parents that if they couldn't get us to be more interested in confirmation, he just wasn't going to teach us anymore because he was finding that all of us together were really not interested in it. But it was boring. It was boring. He had us memorizing the book. He pretty much wanted us to memorize the book, and we were memorizing stuff for school, so it made it hard because not only did we have schoolwork, to memorize stuff. Then we had to memorize this confirmation stuff, when we were in the 7th grade. And it was horrible. And I saw no purpose in it, and I felt like I was lying because that's what it feels like. Church is teaching your kids to lie because of the fact of we're praying to something or worshiping something that kids don't believe in, but if you speak against it, I know I would get in trouble. I don't know about other people. I've heard that millions of people probably have gotten in trouble for denying religion as a child, so you have no voice in it when you're under your parents, which that's part of the indoctrination. If you have parents who won't allow kids to voice something, and want to rule everything by devotions and by church, and it's my way or the highway, and you have no voice.
Oh yeah, that is like literally, yeah, like that was like my me growing up. There was, I mean, like my experiences in Catholicism were like pretty nice. Like I met a lot of nice people and like had fun, ate a lot of food, and like it was fun. But I do understand, yeah, I did get that. I do understand it's like my way or the highway. And if you like don't believe in God and rebel, yeah, like there was a lot of tough times leaving Christianity or struggling with Christianity. And yeah, I've heard stories of other people who like, yeah, they have to like hide their disbelief. And if they say something or challenge God, there were like consequences. But that's not all of Christianity, but it's very common in Christianity. God is seen as this unquestionable authority. But yeah, I complete everything you're saying. I completely relate with, and it's completely valid. It's unfortunate at times.
Well, and then sometimes it kind of gets in it sort of interferes with parenting styles too sometimes with you already have this strict thing coming out of church, and then it just kind of, well, it even stays into your adult life too. I know it did for me. I don't know about you. I think maybe I don't remember if you said it. I've heard a lot of people talk about this similar to me. Because it's like you try to do right and then you feel like you need permission from someone else, which I think the permission for me was finding other people who were willing to say, I don't believe in this stuff about God at all. It's a bunch of hogwash. And so to find that as an adult for me, as a young woman in my 20s, it was hard to find anybody to say that they didn't believe in Christianity, they didn't believe in God. Up until the internet, then we started finding people, a few people here and there. Some of the leaders of Silicon Valley would say they didn't believe in it. They thought it was a bunch of baloney and everything. Like Steve Jobs, I don't think he believed in God, because I know a lot of technology people, they kind of float between places a lot of times.
Yeah.
And but it offers up a safe space sometimes, just depending. The past 8 years has not felt like a safe space on the internet, really. It's been turmoil, symbolic of real life. But maybe we'll get back there one day, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
But because of everything going on in real life, it's been very, very hard on the internet, with everything. And they've wanted to take real life onto the internet, take the internet into real life, and it's just it's just made talking about things challenging, because then we not only that, we deal with then an entertainment industry who does things for their own purposes, and it's of seeking and validating what they're doing as a way of trends and things like that, for their pay.
Yeah. And actually, Aurora, I don't mean to cut you off. I totally agree with everything that you're saying. I do have 2 other guests in the box.
Okay, yeah. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, nice talking. But if you wanna talk to me later on, just you can hang around and I can get right back to you after I deal with the other guest. But it was fun talking to you, and yeah, I agree with most of the stuff you're saying.
Yeah, I know we're kind of preaching to the choir when it comes to you having a diverse view of someone else who is maybe a believer versus so that I can see where you're wanting to get other views. All right, well, have a nice night.
Okay, you too. Thank you for coming. But yeah, and before I let up the next guest, I do want to say thank you guys for being here. There's 21 people on the live. I love you guys. Streaming to YouTube, streaming to Twitch. Hey YouTube, hey Twitch. Please, if you're here, if you don't mind, just tap your screens to like the live and get it on the For You page so we can get more people in here. And share the live with any opposition, hence Christian, because I don't believe in God. Or share with anybody that you think might want to watch the live or discuss with me. Today is Casual Talk Tuesdays. I'm having conversations 1v1 with people, but I'm also down to debate people. And yeah, that's kind of like what I'm doing today. So I'll let the next guest stop. Thank you guys for being here. I don't know who is here first, but I'm gonna do the bottom person.
Hey, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah. Oh, Evans, I see you commenting. I will get to you. Sorry about that. I don't know who requested first. Yeah. I'm just kind of doing it, whatever.
Hey.
So, how are you, Unshakable? What do you got for me today?
Hey, how's it going? How's it hanging? Thank you for having me here. Appreciate being able to have this conversation with you. So one of the things you had said that you don't believe in God at all. I'm just trying to kind of understand your position a little more.
So I would say I'm agnostic. I was Catholic, and then I became a nihilist, then a hard atheist, soft atheist, and now I'm agnostic. I'm open to the idea of God existing, but I sort of lean towards atheism and trust the work of science that's been done empirically by scientists of all kinds. So I think I'm open-minded to the Christian God thing, but it seems as if the Christian God doesn't exist, given the information I've looked at and my life experiences.
Okay. Can you tell me what kind of made you come to that conclusion of that God doesn't exist? Like, what was there like a event in your life or was it like a series of information that caused that?
Well, I haven't come to the conclusion that God doesn't exist, but I am leaning towards it. And I would just say that, I was Catholic. I had a conversation with some people, debated people while I was working at a pizza shop. And after kind of going through some life experiences with Christians and going through some tough times in life, it didn't really seem that God existed, given how our world is. And some of the contradictions and events that take part in the Bible that we can't really verify. And but I'm still open-minded. I'm still doing my research. But the information about Christianity that I've evaluated doesn't seem like it could be real. It seems like it's one of the many religions or stories that were made over time to explain how our world works, but these things require a lot of faith and don't really have too many like empirical types of data to justify them.
Okay. All right. I can see where you're coming from. Well, before I can kind of get into, I guess, having this discussion, I just want to kind of give you my personal testimony of why I believe in God, what caused me to come to God. Um, for me, it was just a combination of things. While I was young, I grew up in a Christian family, but they weren't like considered uh, diligent or what's the word I'm looking for? Are consistent in their faith.
All right.
My mom and my pop, they were holiday churchgoers. They believed in God, but they didn't really practice the faith effectually, so to speak. So but for some reason, when I was young, I always had a desire to read the Bible and to learn about God because the stories always intrigued me. The stories with David and Goliath and all the things that was happening in the Bible really is what drew me to the Bible. And a lot of times I didn't understand what was being said in the Bible, but the little that I did get, it did cause me to kind of gravitate to it. But as I was growing up, there were a series of things where because I was overweight, I was teased in school because of that. I was also in special ed from the 3rd grade all the way to the 8th grade. And I don't know if you ever, I don't know where you live at, but in New York, young kids can be kind of harsh to kids that they thought were slow or they thought they were, academically challenged.
Oh,
So
yeah.
with that, it came his own ridicule and, being called names, being ostracized, on top of being overweight. And it was pretty much a series of events that caused me to kind of have low self-esteem about myself and caused me to question things in life, why they were the way they were. And it caused me to get to a point where pretty much I didn't care if I passed away. I wasn't self-offing, but I didn't care if I were run out and a car was to hit me. I don't know if I can say that on this platform, but a car was to hit me. I thought that I wouldn't be missed or no one would think about me if I passed away. That's kind of the mindset that I had while I was growing up. But deep down inside, I always felt like there was someone who had my back and someone who would talk to me and tell me that I had value, that I was, that I had self-worth, and that there was more to this life than what I was experiencing.
Also, by the
So,
way, I'm really sorry that you guys have gone through life is really hard and that's some tough stuff to go through.
right, yeah, I'm glad I went through it where I am at now in life because it helped become the person that I am. So even though it pretty much made me solidified in who I am because, like I said, as I was going through that, God was dealing with me even then. He was telling me like, hey, like I do have value, like I do have a purpose and a plan for your life. You do have a reason why you're here and you are loved. So kind of one of the things that drew me to God was that he loved me when no one else was there. Like he showed me value when no one else in the world did.
Actually, really quick,
And another thing that I was
or whenever you say
I'm sorry, say that again.
or whenever you say that God spoke to you, how do you mean that God spoke to you? Like in what ways?
It was in different ways. It was more of like an inner voice. Like it was like a feeling or an emotion that had it was like I don't even know how to describe it. It was like an emotion that had a voice to it. It was like I can be feeling like depressed and like not caring about my life, but then an emotion will come in me out of nowhere that was opposite of the emotion that I was feeling. And when that emotion came, it also had a voice attached to it.
Okay, with that, how do you personally distinguish that from that just being like your own thoughts or like your own naturalistic
Well,
occurrences via your body, because it could be God is speaking to you, but it could just be like things that are products of like your brain or subconscious. How do you like separate the two?
it was because mostly because it was saying things that was opposite of what I was thinking. It was opposite of my emotion, and it came out of nowhere. Like it would come like while I was in the midst of the deepest part of my depression. It was like something came and picked me up, and I was wondering where it came from, and I instantly knew. I just intuitively knew that it was God.
Do you think it's impossible for your brain to think one thought, but then also think contradictory or opposite thought?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, you have self-preservation, I guess, for some people. That is a possibility that can happen. But it was also a series of other events where people that didn't know me on a personal level, didn't know what I was going through in private, was saying the things that I was going through in private and confirming that it was God.
Um,
And it was something that I never told these people that I was going through.
well, even with that, right? I think in humanity, there's a friend of mine who said something that like I really resonated with, but they said that like no human experience at this point is like an original experience. Like if we evaluate like all of humanity, the odds that like what you're going through is something that someone else is going through is like very high. And that's how we as human beings are able to like relate. A lot of people go through similar things, not exactly the same, but very similar. So when you're saying that like someone came up to you and shared their situation and it was just like yours, could it be God speaking to you? It's a possibility, but could it also be that like given how many experiences and how many people have existed in humanity, what are the odds that somebody could be going through exactly what you're going through? I mean, it could also just be that it could also just be the nature of the world, right?
It would be hard pressed for me to believe that if I would agree if I was showing signs of that kind of depression to people that were like pretty much were outside of me. But I was very well at hiding my depression. I was very good at putting on a smile in front of people and acting like things didn't bother me, and acting like I was very tough. Where deep down there was an internal struggle. But these people that told me the things I was experiencing, I didn't display that at all to them, and they knew it on a personal level where it was very detailed, where they can tell me like, God is showing me you're in your bedroom crying. God showed me that you were thinking about if you didn't care and you died. God was showing me that you were thinking about that there is something more than life, and those thoughts were true, and I never revealed that to anyone.
Oh, okay. I would say like maybe that could be God, but then my brain is also thinking that like even though you were like hiding what you were going through, I think there's like little signs that you might have hinted to somebody, or maybe you were like going through something, or maybe like it was like a lucky guess or like maybe intuition. But regardless, I mean like it could be either way.
Yeah,
You never know.
it was very tough for me to believe that. It would be very tough. But another thing that caused me to kind of start even just seeking God was there was something in me that was telling me there was more to life than just going to school, getting an education, and having a job, making good money. I wasn't, even though I was academically challenged at the time, there was a point during the end of my academia that I did, get out of special ed, and I actually became very stewardess in the things I was being taught. And I just intuitively knew that there had to be something more to life, because it seems like everything in life did not have any long lasting value. I thought about the clothes that I wear, how eventually those clothes are going to wear and tear. My life, even if it was the best in the best circumstances, with me being well put financially, that eventually those achievements that I can achieve with my money would eventually have no long lasting joy that would be dispensed out of it. Pretty much everything in life, I started thinking about things on a deeper level about life and how I realized that everything in life is temporary. That though we may find joy in things, there's not long lasting joy. It's only temporary joy. So that caused me to kind of gravitate to desiring something more, something that was long lasting and eternal.
Mm. So you're saying that like just to clarify, you're saying like you had a feeling that like there's more to life than what you were going through. Like something was telling you that there's more to life than like
Right.
than this.
Right. Like eventually, even, if I had kids, I would be able to tell my kids things, but eventually my kids, it's up to them if they was going to carry on what I taught them. They might not. And eventually the one day that I'm going to die, just like, everything in this world, it has no long lasting value. Neither will I. So it was all these things that was pointing to, and it also convinced me that there has to be something more than life than what we see here, what we're experiencing, because everything we see here is temporary. So it seems as though your purpose or your expense of operating in this world won't have any long lasting value.
Okay.
And that's what kind of drew me to something. It has to be something more in this world that's eternal. And that's also what drew me to the Christian God.
Oh, okay. I would say like that feeling isn't really like that feeling isn't uncommon. Throughout history, like it's kind of like natural for us to like try to find meaning in things or try to figure out like
Right.
the source of our origin and seek that out and maybe think that there's even more to life than like what's here or like the world around us. But yeah, like the question of like why are we here or like existentialism has been like something that has existed for like thousands of years. Humans are always trying to figure out like what is our purpose? Why are we here? Is there more to the life that we have right now? But yeah, this is a very common feeling. And yeah.
Yeah, I think also that's one of the reasons why I think, like you said, throughout history, like people have felt this way. And I also think that's why throughout history, there has always been a desire for people to pursue like God or the supernatural because of that, because they're looking for a purpose that's beyond the world that they're living in.
Yeah.
And yeah, and for me, it was Christ. Like it was Christ. The reason that drew me to him was because, like I say, I felt like he was with me when no one else was. He showed me love when everyone else abandoned me. There was time even, and I don't want to throw my mom under the bus, but there was a time even when my mom, she had said something to me during my time when I was, being academically challenged. She had said something to me, and it kind of was like the cherry on top. And it was one night I was having issues with my homework that she was helping me with, and I'm looking back now. I know it was because I wasn't, really doing my best to learn what it was that she was trying to teach me. But in her frustration, she had told me that, you know what, you're not going to be nothing. You're not going to be anything.
I think you're breaking up.
That. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
think you're
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can, but it is showing that you have red bars. I would just take some time to like check your Wi-Fi real quick.
Yeah.
and-
I think I'm good now.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Continue.
Yeah. So yeah, she had said I wasn't going to be nothing in life, and that kind of what also dove me off into a more depressive state. And I know looking back now, I know she was saying it out of me not doing the best I could to learn academically, but it was something that pretty much challenged me. So I think that also contributed to it. But yeah, it was those two things that God was always with me when no one else was. And I knew that there had to be. I just had this intuitive thought and desire that there had to be something more than life than what I seen and what I was living.
Oh, okay. Um, so that's I don't really have much to say to that, but that's like an interesting story.
Yeah, and I would say, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
Oh no, go ahead.
I would say the reason why I was drawn into the Christian God is because out of every God that's in the world, the Christian God, his act of self-sacrifice for our sins is one of the greatest acts of love a person can show. So that was one of the things that also was like the cherry on top that convinced me, like, okay, this is the God that was with me all along, during those years in which I felt alone.
Interesting. Okay, there is some stuff I want to dive into there, but I do have one guest that's waiting. But I would say, like, if I've loved the conversation with you so far, but let me try to get to that guest. But if you want to
Sure.
and whenever I don't have guests, I might swing back to you and continue the conversation. But thank you for coming up and talking with me. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I pray that you would just, everyone, guys would just think about what I said and, just think about it.
I definitely will. I'm always thinking about whether God exists.
All right. Have a good one. I'll be around.
All right, you too. Thank you.
All right.
And okay, really quick before I let up the next guest. Thank you guys for being here. There's 14 people in the live. I really appreciate you guys being here. If you could just tap your screens on TikTok to like the live, and that helps me get on the For You page. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all the gifts. They help me to like do this more often. Today's kind of like a casual day, just having conversations, no debates, nothing like super toxic or like entertaining. But I do find these conversations I'm having the live instances, and this is probably what I needed. I was a bit overwhelmed before I started the live with like life, but yeah, just kind of a chill, mellow live is pretty good. I think like it wouldn't really be great for my brain if I went into like a heated debate with where I'd have to think really hard and like debate hard. But even though I'm having calm conversations today, I'm not opposed to having debates. So if anyone wants to debate me, feel free. Thank you guys for being here. Love all you guys. You guys are awesome. Yeah, I mean, you're spending your Tuesday night with me instead of being somewhere else, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm gonna move on to the next guest. Ed,
My brother.
what's up, my brother?
Are you ready to have the greatest debate of all time? No, I'm playing.
Imagine you come up here and then like 10 minutes later, I'm like flipping through pages and swiping.
I was waiting for you. No. I gotta say, I appreciate your temperament. You're like letting everybody speak and sharing whatever is on their heart, and you're like, you're receiving it well. Like even when it's like repetitive, and like sometimes I'm very repetitive too, so I appreciate that that you're not gonna like take that to offense. So I could say that. Although you're not Christian, that's very Christian-like of you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm joking. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing.
Okay. But like, I don't know, today, like, I have like a headache. I was like working at my job. I work with like paints and like paint and what is it called?
Like fumes and stuff.
Yeah, paint and primer and stuff. Normally I wear a mask, but today like I didn't wear a mask and like I got a headache and like I'm overwhelmed. But yeah, so I'm just like mellow today. But it depends when you catch me. Sometimes I'm in a debate and I'm like going hard and like ugly and it's all sorts of stuff.
No, that's good though. You gotta have both sides. Trust me. Me too. I get overly excited real fast. But I'm gonna try to match your energy. I'm not gonna get things out of real here. So I just wanted to ask you questions really like Why? All right. So, what do you think God is? Like, when you say God, you don't believe in God. What do you mean by that? Because it's like such a broad term, you know?
I would say, um, I would say, so I have looked into like many different gods. There's the Egyptian gods, there's the Greek gods like Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Aphrodite. Um,
Hmm.
Typically, when I'm saying like God doesn't exist, though, the image that pops into my mind when I say God is the classical theistic Christian God, the one that's all powerful, the one that's all loving, the one that is present everywhere. And a lot of times on TikTok, that's the God that I'm like debating against or
Okay.
about. But yeah, there are other gods and perceptions of gods. So
All right. Yeah, that's what I wanted to like get to the bottom of. Like, what does it mean to be a god?
yeah.
Like what makes Zeus a god, and what makes the Christian God a god, and what makes you not a god, and versus my dog god. You know, what does God even mean? It's like everybody's saying God, but like, what are we talking about when we're talking about God? You know, because I could say my dog is a god. You know, like what makes it my dog a god? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah, people have their different ways of describing God or viewing God. So yeah, it is very important to key in on like what specific God are we talking about? You know, what
Yeah.
form of God.
Yeah, because we're not never gonna have an agreement if we're talking about. You might say God, and whatever you're saying when you say God, it doesn't exist, and whatever I'm saying when I say God, you agree exists, but you don't call it God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times in those conversations, I think that's like the first thing. Once that's established, is like, okay, where, because I do believe all of those powers that you say, like the Zeus power, all of those ideas exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. So,
Um,
like,
why
I
do
think,
you,
hmm?
why do you believe that they exist?
I mean, just because they even have a name, everything that has a name for me exists, doesn't mean they're true.
Well, I mean, just because something has a name doesn't mean that it exists per
It
se.
exists in concept, at least. I'm saying, like, it doesn't mean it's not manifested in materialistic ways. But just because something is not manifested materialistically doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So this is where another thing you say, what does existence mean? You know, it goes deeper. Like I think like our vocabularies are like formulated to the way we think, and we're just like trying to shove it down people's throat. And you're saying Jesus died on the cross, and then you're like, what does that mean? And they're like, just whatever you think is true. And you're like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm Christian, but like I had to, like, now I consider myself, I only call myself Christian because I love the Bible. Like, it's like a book that helps, like, you know what I mean? It's just like purely on a literature type of thing. The message that it really has behind it is such a hopeful message. How can you not
Mm. Well, yeah.
love it?
I mean, like, there's a lot of religions that have like hopeful messages or teachings, but it doesn't mean it's true, right?
But no, wait, that's what, and this is where I think the definitions matter. What do you mean by true? Is it not true in concept? Like that concept doesn't is not true. Like is a false concept, or is it never manifested in materialistic? Like the concept of the creation that cares about the creator that cares about his creation. Does that exist or no? You know what I mean?
But yeah, I would say, I guess when I say true, like, yeah, just because something is like good or has good teachings or uplifting, it doesn't mean that like it exists in our reality objectively, or like that it has some kind of like effect on our reality. I guess that's what I mean by whether it's like true or not, whether like the claims being made are things that are actually actualized in regards to whatever it is
Give me
that
an
they're
example.
trying to portray.
Give me an example. Like any like it doesn't have to be specific to the Bible. Like how can a concept not be true in this reality? How can I not utilize a concept?
So like if someone was to say if someone was to say it's raining lollipops, right?
But is that a
Um,
concept? Does it have a name? Like for like rain is a concept. Falling water. It has a name because it's true. It's called rain. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
Raining lollipop is not a concept. It's called imagination. That's not like there's not. You know what I mean?
wait, but like I don't know. It's kind of confusing when you say like you're saying rain is true.
Because
Um,
it has a name. Like if let's remember, I said everything that has a name, or every concept that has a name is true, in some way, shape, or form.
but I think using true in that sense doesn't really make sense. I mean, you could say like rain is real, yeah, but like rain is true. Like true is like true pertains to like um, well, true is part of a dichotomy pertaining to like whether something is like actual, right? Rain is true. I mean, rain
In
is
a
not
sense,
like,
that's what I said. Like it's not false, but it's not true in every sense. But it is true. Like
no,
if I say that,
I
hmm?
guess like true and false are pertaining to like propositions. Rain isn't really like a proposition. Rain is
Okay, I get it. I get it. And English is my second language, so trying to be with me like as simplistic as we can. If I'm saying like rain is a true concept,
or I would say rain is real, right?
is
Rain is
a true concept. You don't agree with that one?
rain is like it's a concept, but it's also a phenomenon that like occurs in nature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like but true and false would like more so pertain to like claims. Like if you say
Okay.
yeah, like if you say like the car is black, that would be like a claim, and that could be true or that can be false.
Like it's raining lollipop. It's a claim.
Yeah.
It's not a concept. Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. So let's just stick to the real. And so I would say concepts are real. Then, like every concept that has a name is real.
I guess it's real in a sense, like the
Hmm.
concept exists as a concept.
Hmm. And a great God is the greatest God's concept that there is. And just having that concept in your mind, you see how the guy before me was saying that even that notion of that concept, whether it's real, whether it's like true, whether it actually exists or not, but that concept has real effects. Like it really helped them through even when the world was going against them. You know what I mean? That concept of a creator that cares individually for you. It says he knows exactly how much hair is on your body. That concept, when you're going through the worst things of your life, it actually has true effects. Even from that perspective, I believe like at least that's we could agree with that or no.
I would say like yeah, like God could exist as like a concept. But I guess my thing is like I don't believe God exists as like a force that is affecting our reality or operating in our reality. He exists as like a concept, like an idea that might be inspiring to some and help people to do amazing things. But I don't think God exists as like an entity that has its attributes and is like um, existing as a
Like
subject
gravity.
as yeah like for me like God exists as a concept to me, but he doesn't exist in the same sense that like I exist and how I am.
Or so what's the difference between God and gravity in concept?
Gravity is something that can be measured.
Oh, all right. I like that answer actually. What you call it? All right. So for what you're saying, basically, right? So if God is the concept of God, and I find that interesting. You see how he said the concept of God set him free from all of he was saying, and earlier you guys were saying the concept of God made you feel chained and kind of like judged and not good enough for whatever concept of God you had in your mind that you know what I mean? And it kind of pushed you away from it. So I believe that it has real life consequences and it affects real people's life, even yours right now. You're on TikTok speaking about that same concept. It is actively taking hours of your day. And you just said, I think about God all the time. Like it is actively um living through you. You know what I mean? That concept, like
Yeah,
if
but
I
like
don't know if you
I
hear
would say
about.
like
Okay.
I would say God exists as like a concept, but I'm kind of I'm kind of doing research on whether God exists in the same way that I exist, like actually affecting our world, thinking for himself or itself. But yeah, it's a concept. Like unicorns are a concept, right? But I don't think unicorns exist like I do. Bigfoot is a concept, but I don't think
But does
Bigfoot.
your dog exist like you do? It
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah,
No,
my
the
dog
dog
exists.
don't feel, it don't think how you think. It don't see the world how you see the world. It
Well,
exists in
yeah,
the whole.
but like the dog can interact with certain aspects of our world. So there are some similarities that we share, but there's also similarities that like we don't share. When it comes to God, um, it exists as like a concept, but other than that, I don't see how God is like, thinking or acting or affecting anything that is a part of my society. It's simply a concept to me.
But what if that concept, like, all right, so let's say, I understand what you're saying, and I understand, like, God is not like, I don't think the Bible ever preached that God is a man and it has, like, it don't exist like you. I don't think there's a God that exists like you. I think the closest God that exists like you, is you, and then you're able to have the same concept of, all right, my whole thing is, and I think to simplify it for me, how I like to look at it is God is truth, true or truth, the true truth. I like to say double truth. You know what I mean? So everything that is real, like just like I am physically real, and true in concept. So everything that is, no matter what religion says it, no matter if an atheist say something true, as long as you speak something that's truth, you're speaking of God, because there's no anything that is, because truth doesn't
But
rely on anything but itself.
how would you conclude that? Like, it seems like you're just saying that, like, if someone says a proposition that's true, that's God. But like, I don't agree with that. It depends. Like, how are you even defining God in that sense?
By truth, like literally, like I say, God is not contained in the Bible or any religion. God is truth. Anything that is true, meaning it's constructive, it brings life, it is good, it is not destructive. It's only truth and error. I believe God is truth and error is the devil. And in our mind, because if we have no error in our mind, we will be as Christ, as God. We will have the mind of God, which is truth.
Yeah,
So I
but
believe.
I don't think that statement's really yielding truth, right? You're kind of just saying like God is like whatever you are interpreting as like good or true, right? You're just pointing to things and saying like, yeah, that's God, but like I
No,
don't.
but the thing about it that's different is that I can be wrong. I can say, okay, it is right for me to be mean to you, and that is what God wants. But I am wrong because I'm saying the truth that is objective, and I don't believe that humans are capable of having objective truth. I believe we could only conceive God purely through concept, and I think the Bible is just the concept of God. We cannot conceive of like the same way your ant cannot conceive of how we think or perceive the world. I only believe that the closest we can know of God is the concept of truth. Whatever God is, whatever religion teaches us, as long as you follow truth, which is truth outside of yourself, eternal truth, you will find you're following God, and you will find, and it will be beneficial as long as you stay away from error. You know what I mean? I think that's concept wise, purely concept wise, no, not like based on text.
Okay. Well, I do have a guest in the box, but it was nice talking to you. If you want to stick around, maybe I can like swing back to you when I don't have anyone in line. But it was really nice talking to you, and thank you for coming up. I really appreciate it.
All right, I appreciate you, man. Give me a conclusion when I'm leaving, just on what the concept, if you get me. All right, but I appreciate you so much, brother.
Definitely. Thank you for coming up. What's up, guys? Before I bring up the next guest, I do want to say thank you guys for being here. There's 12 of you guys in here. If you want to, I would say please just tap your screens if you're on TikTok and like the live. This helps like get my live on the For You page and get more people in here. Thank you guys for being here. There's 12 of you guys in here. You could be doing anything else with your Tuesday night, but you decided to hang out with me. So like I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you guys for any gifts that you might send. They help me to kind of like do this for a living, and they help me to do more of this, create content. I really appreciate it. But yeah, love all of you guys. Like the conversations I'm having today. Very chill, very mellow, nothing like toxic. But if you want to come up and like challenge me or destroy me intellectually, feel free to. My brain isn't at its best, but feel free to do your thing. I will debate or have calm conversations on Casual Talk Tuesdays today. So I'm inviting up the next guest. Yeah. Unshakable. I think you were here earlier. Yeah, you were.
Yes, yeah, I was. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of discuss one of the difficult things for a lot of unbelievers or even Christians, a topic that even Christians have a hard time really delving into, which I've been kind of studying recently. And that is the topic of why does God allow evil?
Ooh. Wait. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can do this while you're here. Bear with me. Give me like
Okay,
time.
sure.
Give me 2 minutes. Let me find it. It's in here. You want to talk about the problem of evil?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that is a very common one on TikTok. I have a background for it that I'm like reaching for, trying to see if I can find it quickly. But man, I'd have to edit it. But basically, it says, "Why would a loving God make you / allow you to suffer?"
Yes.
But yeah, people have a lot of trouble with that. There's an evidentiary problem of evil, and then there's a logical problem of evil. I tend to do like the evidentiary one, but go ahead,
Okay,
continue.
what does that mean? What is that? Hold on, wait. What does the evidentiary mean?
So evidentiary, I might get this wrong. I probably need to look into it more. But evidentiary would just be more about like observing like the world that we currently live in and the evidence that would point to the world being incompatible with a God and how he's described, while logical would be more based on exploring like logical arguments for why God would be incompatible with the world that we currently live in. Although, if you're making an evidentiary argument, you can also be making like an argument with like premises and sort of engaging in logic. But nobody trusts
Okay,
me on that. Don't take my word for it. Everyone in this live, go do your own research. Go look up those terms.
right,
I'm going off the top of my head, and I could do more research. I want to
right,
spread truth, not like misinformation. So double check everything I'm
right.
saying.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that spirit, man. Okay, so this is a topic I've been really studying heavily because it seems to be like a sore thumb in the midst of Christians and in the midst of believers, and it seems to be one of the talking points or one of the advantages that atheists have on their side. So
Yeah.
my goal here is to cause have all of you think about what I'm saying. I don't think is the end all cure all as to why God allows evil. I think there's many different facets that you can draw from it. But one of the things that I have learned is okay. One is God is all powerful, right? The Bible shows that He has all power. He can do anything that He desires to do. Only thing that can stop God is God, right? So God Bible also says that God is all wise. He has all wisdom. He has all knowledge, right? So with those two things, we see if you go in the Bible in the book of Genesis, the serpent, right? The serpent or the devil played a huge role in the fall of man and how evil has crept its way into the world that we live in,
Yeah.
right? So my thing is, God in His all powerful, being all powerful, He could have ejected Satan out of the garden if He wanted to, but He kept him there. Two, God also knew what Satan was going to do because He knows our thoughts. He knows also everything that's going to happen in past, present, and future. So He knew what Satan was going to do, and He also had the power of ejecting him out of the garden, but He didn't. So that caused me to conclude after just a totality of Scripture, to believe that God had a plan and a purpose for Satan being there. And I think His plan and purpose for Satan being in the garden was to give Adam and Eve the ability to choose a choice that would be against what He had commanded them to do. There can't be free will without the ability to choose, have the ability. I don't know if you would you agree with that?
You think evil exists because we have free will or free choice? Is that what you're trying to
I
say?
think that was part of their free will. Part of Yeah, I think that's part of their free will, that you have to have the ability to choose or have an option of choices in order to have free will. Because if there's only one option for you to choose, then there's no, real options for you to choose against or for that thing.
But does having the ability to make choices, does that necessarily necessitate that the consequences of those choices must occur?
I would think so. I would think with every reaction there should be every action there should be a reaction. I think that's an intricate part of the world that we live in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
so let me ask
Kind of like
you.
you reap what you sow.
Actually, give me one. So let me ask you this: would you say that? Give me one sec. Let me look at my notes real quick. Would you say that Abraham had free will in the story of, remember the story in the Bible where it said that Abraham took his son up to a mountain, right? And
Right.
God kind of instructs him to offer up his son as like a sacrifice, right? And
Hmm.
as Abraham lays down his son, and Abraham has had a history of struggling to have kids, right? And he really loved his son. This was the one child he had, right? So he has a.
Well, it was his second son. It was his second son.
Oh man, I think I
Yeah.
messed that up. Sorry.
You
But
good?
yeah,
You
it was his
good?
second son. He loved his kids very much, and as he raised, I can't say the word, but like the sharp object up, and as he
Right.
brought it down, to poke into his kid, right? An angel stopped him. So
Hmm.
in that scenario, I would say, and that scenario is kind of an example of like the atheist arguments that might be posed against the whole free will approach, is that we could have a world where people are able to make choices and they have the free will to do evil. But right before the consequence is going to happen, right? God or an angel or some force could stop the consequence. And hence, you would have a world in which people make choices. They have free will. But the consequence is not necessarily necessitated or required for them to have free will and make choices.
Well, I would say with that is the choice really being made, right? Because if something is, let's say if I want to pick up a jar, right? And I want to pick this jar up, but every time I grab it, someone else, which is I guess is another force, is not allowing me to actually pick it up. The question is then, am I actually picking it up? My choice isn't meeting is full intention. You see what I'm saying? So if Abraham was to do that with his son, or if anyone, like let's say if you had a weapon that shoots out, I guess I gotta be careful what I say, a weapon that shoots something out, right? And every time you pull that trigger, God puts his finger between where you pull your trigger versus where you wouldn't, right? The question then is, would there be a sense of justice? Would there be a place where God can judge a wicked action or judge a wrong action or even congratulate or commend a right action if he's preventing it from happening? You see
Um,
what I'm saying?
well, I would say like I might challenge the analogous part of that in the sense of I would say it would more so be like you point a pew pew at somebody, right? And
Right.
you pull the activator, if you know what I mean. TikTok, I'm trying to be safe. You pull the activator, right? And like the projectile flies out of the pew pew, but before it hits the target, a hand from heaven comes down and prevents the target from being hit by the projectile, right? So it's more so like you can make choices, but before the consequence is actualized, right? You just don't get the consequence. So I think like if God was to intervene and stop like the consequence, it wouldn't negate choices or free will. You can still make choices. It's just that you don't really get the consequence. In the jar example, let's say God didn't want you to have the jar, right? You receiving the jar would be the consequence, but you making the active choice or the free will decision to put your hand on the jar and try to take it, you could still make that choice. You just wouldn't get the consequence. We could live in a world with that instead. Um,
Well, I would say with that, I would say there have been times where God has done that, right? Like I don't know if you heard testimonies of assailants of different people where they wanted to, desire to hurt someone, but for some reason that object that they were using to hurt someone didn't operate the way in which they intended, or they may have pew someone, and if for any other circumstance it would have been fatal, but in that circumstance it wasn't. So God does, because He's all powerful, He does have the ability to do that, but He doesn't do that in every circumstance. And the question is why. And I would think that one of the reasons why is because there is something to gain or something to learn from an evil action being taken. There is something to learn more about God when an evil action is taken and someone experiences the consequences of those actions. And there's also something to learn for the person that's doing that evil action, for them to learn about something from it. So is more than, I think, more than just from thinking about it like that. There's more than, God desires us to have free will, but He also desires us to learn more about ourselves and learn more about Him based on the choices that we make.
I would say that's a very interesting take. But my challenge to that would just be, yeah, I've heard stuff like that, right? Like bad things happen for people to to learn lessons. Well, hold on, or let me address it like this. You said that in some scenarios, God does step in to intervene. I have heard of
Right.
scenarios where like some things seem like God is interacting, but oftentimes my problem with those scenarios is that there's no symmetry breaker. There's nothing that would compel me to believe that God is acting over it merely just being like a coincidence. It's equally likely that it could be both. So I kind of look
It's a
for,
possibility.
yeah, like what would convey me that it is God rather than a coincidence. It seems as if equally both could be the explanation. So when so I guess like, yeah, does God stop stuff? Maybe, but it's very vague and easily could be dismissible as like a coincidence. Um, and again, but like if we're going by the Bible, yeah, God does stop stuff. He instructed Abraham to
Right.
sacrifice his son, and like at the very last second, an angel stepped in. And it could be that way for like everything else, right? But unfortunately, like we live in a world where bad things happen and God doesn't like step in, and
Right.
it's in
So
contradiction with, how He's
right.
typically.
So that was the other point I was going to make, that the reason why God allows evil is because there's a greater good that comes out of evil. Like for example, with the example I gave you about my life, right? Look, in hindsight, it was a good thing that I experienced, being ostracized and being cut off from people and having that
Ooh,
discover who God actually is.
oh, you cut out for a brief second. Oh, you might be having connection issues.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, you're having
Yeah,
connection.
my connection is acting. Yeah, it's going crazy tonight. I don't know why everything's plugged in and everything, but um, yeah, I was gonna say it was a good thing that I went through that kind of hardship. Um, because even if you think about your favorite like action hero, your favorite, like I watch a lot of anime, right?
Or really quick,
Like,
let me
yeah,
just
if you
say,
watch anime,
or really quick, let
you
me just
good.
say this real quick. Thank you, Sage, for the gift. I really appreciate it. Gifts help me to like do more lives and maybe do this for a living someday. Do more lives, create more content. So thank you for the gifts. I really appreciate it. Sage, you're awesome. Shout out to Sage. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So I was thinking about like your favorite action hero, your favorite comic book hero, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them, well, uh, I would say actually, well, why is it echo? What the heck?
Oh, might be a connect. You sound fine to me, but there might be a connection issue. I would say probably take like maybe like 1 minute, 2 minutes to check your connection real quick and try again.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay.
While you're doing that, let me post this. I think let me put up a sticker. I think at 10 o'clock I might open it up to like a panel. So like effects. Oh, oops, not that. I don't
Can
know.
hey, create controversial. I'll be right back. I'm gonna leave and then come right back.
Okay, yeah, feel free to do so. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll bring you right back up. Enhance stickers. Let's see. Thank you guys, and I guess right now, while that is happening, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it, everybody that's here. I would say if you can, if you want to, tap your screens if you're on TikTok to like the live. That helps me get like more people in the live, and I appreciate you guys for doing that. I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for all the gifts. They help me to like do more lives like this, make content, and like maybe do this for a living someday. Debate and host debates and share my journey of like learning information about atheism and Christianity and spreading awareness and like knowledge, I guess, on these subject matters. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here. You could be anywhere on this Tuesday night, but you've chosen to spend it with me. I love all of you guys, and tap your screens and thank you for being here. And I'm gonna posting up a sticker right now, trying to type something onto it. At 10 p.m. CST, I'll open it up to wide to, let me see, pan, no. Okay, let me see. All okay. I'll do that. Okay, yeah, feel free to request up Unshakable. I'll invite you. So yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. My connection is acting crazy tonight. So yeah, so one of the things I was gonna say was that it was a good thing that I had experienced the hardships that I experienced because just like your favorite like anime hero, your favorite comic book character, right? Or your favorite action hero in the action story, had it not been the for the pain and the suffering or the difficult circumstances they were in, it would not have ejected them or put them in the place to be the actual hero they were, right? So it seems that in some cases, right, why God allows evil is because those hardships, those pains, that suffering makes us become the people that we are. It is like the crucible or the flame that forges who we are.
Okay. I would say, yeah, I would say like maybe God is bringing good things out of the bad things, but I would say
Right.
like, is it are those bad things necessary? Like, as we go through life, we might say that like, for some people, let's say that they got in a car accident and lost a family member, then they went on to become like an amazing doctor, and so like the bad things make the good things, and that's like necessary. But we're not even sure if that's necessary. Maybe God could have done it like another way. But if we're saying like bad things kind of create better things or good things, or maybe they're necessary, I think the problem that atheists will pose when it comes to that is there's so many bad things happening in our world. Um, it would seem as if like some of them are kind of like unnecessary, and God doesn't really specify on what's necessary or what's unnecessary. And God's all powerful; He could really make it any way He wanted to, right? In regards to like bad things and whether they're necessary or not, there's a ton of bad things that seem unnecessary, right? Is it necessary that like children are born with cancer, or in Africa there's this parasite that's being spread around that its only purpose is to blind young children? It's called onchocerciasis, spread by black flies. Is that necessary to happen to like young kids? And then there are plenty of examples like people being born with allergic reactions to sunlight. So like ever since they were a kid, when they step out during like the 12 hours that the sun is in the sky, they're burning, itching, rolling all over the floor. Is it necessary for them to be born like that? And then there's like plenty of other things. Grape, I can't say the word, but grape,
Yeah.
schmurder, and all sorts of different things. Maybe some things were necessary for like a greater purpose, but we don't even know. God doesn't tell us what is and what's not necessary, but we know God's all powerful. He can do it any way he wants to. And there's so many bad things happening. And some things it's like, it begs the question, um, if this is necessary, then to what means? Why are there parasites? Why are there tornadoes? Why is there all this evil in the world? It seems as if it's unnecessary, and we don't really have confirmation by God what is and what is not necessary. And given that God is all powerful, he should be able to do anything. Why would he do it like this? In regards to his other attributes, like being all loving and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, I would add on to that. Like even if like babies that were, I guess I can't use the word. I don't know if I can or not, but that were tossed away. I guess, right? There seems to not be an explanation for that. There's a lot of other evils that we experience that it doesn't. That person's life may end with there being seemingly no good that comes out of it, right? Like if you have like a person who was homeless, right, and from that whole point up until the end of their lives, there seemed to be uh, no ultimate good that came out of their life while they were here on earth, right? But I think that's why the concept of eternal life is important because there seems to be that the things that this life is temporary, and the things that we experience here is uh, is small. It seems to be small in comparison to what we would experience on the other side of this life. That God does make things right in the next life, right?
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why we have this life that's temporary. That this temporary life we have will have major consequences or major rewards that come on the other side of it. Um, but I think also is there some things in that happens in the world that we don't know of. Like for example, I don't know if you heard the phrase. Would anyone here notice a tree falling in the forest? Right.
Yeah.
That's something that no one knows. It happens. It's going on, but no one knows that it's happening. No one is there to witness it. So just from that, there seems to be that there is things in that are happening that are outside of our scope of knowing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't negate that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but I would say like when it comes to those things, I wouldn't say that it doesn't happen. I would just say that I'm agnostic to it. And also, let me see, I'm trying to think of like what you said. You said that for some people bad things are gonna happen to them and they're gonna pass away, and that's why like heaven exists. Um, but then again, like to me, heaven just seems like sort of like an empty promise because there's no way that we can know if heaven really exists, right? It's just the Bible is telling us that like heaven exists. But has anyone gone to heaven and come back? Do we have any empirical data that heaven exists? Can we travel there? Can we test it out? Can we experience heaven? No, it's just a concept or a claim that's proposed by people who lived in a time where everyone was making stories up about gods and religion and how the world was created. But we can't test this. We can't go there. We can't see it. We can't empirically verify that heaven exists. So it seems like an empty claim or a promise.
Yeah, I would say I guess that's where faith comes in, Like you said with the example I said with a bad thing happening to someone or God stopping a pew pew, right? Or God doing something to prevent evil or to save someone. Some people may determine, oh, it was just a process of random chances happening, and some people would say, no, this is an unseen force. I think that comes down to uh, what you believe, right? But like I said, there seems because there's so many things that's in this world that are unseen and at times unexplainable. it gives evidence that there is something beyond this, temporal world that we see and we feel,
Um, you think so? You're saying like things that are unexplainable might hint at a god.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Don't you think that's sort of there's like a fallacy for that, but like the fallacy is basically called like God of the gaps, and it's basically whenever we can't explain something, we say that like this is God, right? But there's nothing that really proves or shows that it's God. We're simply just putting God onto something that we can't explain. But just because we can't explain it doesn't mean that it's God. And examples of this would be like historically, we used to think that people having seizures were possessed by demons, right? And that led to a lot of mistreatment of people who were having seizures. But as we learned about science, we found out that this is something that's going on with them in regards to their bodies and their brains, right? And it wasn't demons. So people just kind of like put God or some kind of spiritual being to explain those things. But turns out with research, it wasn't actually those things. So like it's kind of like fallacious to say that just because we can't explain it means that it's this or that. It's probably better and more truthful to be agnostic, right?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of the I guess one of the difficult parts of being of a faith. You know what I mean? That there is, because we believe in an unseen God. Um, it can be difficult to uh, prove, in a tangible way of his existence or of his operation in the world that we live in. So, like I said, again, just like with my experience, I think it determines the life's experience and a person's outlook on life that determines if those things are real or not. Um, because, like you said, there's a lot of things. Like I said, there's a lot of things in this world uh, that can't be explained. You know what I mean? That happens and is miraculous. Like how an accident may occur, and the chances of a woman who may be in that vehicle with her baby, and how she can be perfectly protected in that circumstance versus a person who would have experienced that same accident and it was fatal. You know what I mean? These are kind of the things that is contingent on the person, the heart of the person that's interpreting what they're seeing. So
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I would just say that like yeah, for me like yeah, I see those things all the time. They can be like coincidences. It could be God. But I guess I'm just looking for the evidence that would compel me to like either of those. Until we have that evidence, every possible explanation you could give for it is kind of like on equal grounding, and the explanations give it the probability that it's this more than something else.
I can see where you're coming from. 100%.
But based on like my previous arguments and like everything we've talked about, I guess like with the problem of evil, I guess what atheists are going to pose forward, or I guess what I'm posing forward, is that we could like like essentially the consequence of our actions isn't really required for us to be able to like make choices or have like free will. And we see examples of this in the Bible, right? Where Abraham followed God's instruction, made the choice to like poke his son, right? But God like stopped him before the consequence happened, right? So the choice was made, the free will is there, but the consequence didn't happen. And the question is, why doesn't God do that for every bad thing that occurs in our world? And there may be some things where people have said like God stopped me from doing this, or maybe it seems as if God prevented it, right? But with those things, it seems very vague and hard to measure God's actual involvement in it. And it could equally be a coincidence as much as it is God. And so I guess that's like one part of the conversation, or one
I
of
would
the
say,
points that atheists might put forward. Another thing is that saying that like some good might come out of the bad things. Maybe God allows bad things to happen so he can bring good out of it. But then that questions like whether it's necessary. Does God need the bad things to happen to bring good out of it? Can God bring good without the evil or the bad things? Why are those things necessary?
Yeah,
Um,
so one of the things that I actually had this conversation before, with this person, they posed this question, and it actually intrigued me. They had brought up God, right? And how God makes choices, right? God makes choices, but every one of his choices is doesn't fall in the realm of being unjust or sinful, right? So in that same way, he could have made man with the ability to make choices that were completely contingent on everything good. He could have done that. God could have done that. But from scripture, there seems to be that there is something along the way to when you reach the end, which in some cases would be the book of Revelations, right? There is something that is to be gained during this process of us living in a fallen world where evil exists and where consequences happen, where, the evils we experience and the consequences that from those evils, and even the good. There's a lot of good that we experience in this world too, which I think a lot of atheists will kind of downplay, uh, and just say, oh, is uncomparable to the evil we experience because we don't have an answer to those evils. But there's a lot of good that happens. But aside from that point, they had asked me, yeah, why God just didn't make a world like that? And I would say there was a purpose as to why God made the world the way it is. And it could be because he's gathering a people, gathering I would say a crescendo towards at the end, which in the book of Revelations we read that God is going to make a perfect world. The world it's going to be a new world, and it will be perfect. And there won't be any crying or any mourning anymore, where there won't be any sin. So it could be, and I could be wrong here, it could be that God is preparing a people that will love him in spite of the hardships that they experience here on earth, in spite of the difficulties, in spite of living in a fallen world. They will love him all the more when they're in a perfect world without those things.
hmm. I guess like the question would be like, so God has this plan where evil is happening, and eventually it's gonna lead to like people making it into heaven and people making it into hell, and so this is all part of God's plan. Um, but again, like,
Right.
I guess it just begs the question, like, did the plan have to be this way? And also, given God's characteristics, this plan seems kind of brutal, right? So, like, we have people who get like raped or people who suffer from parasites, and this idea that like it's all part of God's plan, and like if they just like hold on longer, they'll make it into heaven. Why does it have to be? Why does it even have to like be that way? And is that plan really that great? And is that plan even compatible with God being all loving? How can God love you but then allow you to suffer from parasites or being raped and give this promise of like if you hold on you'll make it into heaven, and there's no way to even verify if he's going to fulfill that promise or not?
So um, I would say with that is a lot of things in this world, like I said, that we can't explain. Like I wouldn't even be able, because one, I don't have God's complete wisdom, right? The Bible says that God is all wise, right? So if God is all wise, that means that he knows things that we don't.
Yeah.
He has access to things that we don't have access to because he's all powerful. So from our perspective, being finite beings, we're looking from I would say a valley, whereas God is looking from a hilltop where he
So
he sees everything.
so given that we can't really understand God, right?
Well, we can understand God based on what the revelation that he's given us about himself. But there are some things about God. Let me give you an example, right? Like if you try to, like my dog, right? I have a dog that toy poodle. My toy poodle loves me. Her name is Zoe, right?
But before you go down
Uh,
that route, um, you said that we can understand God given the revelation that He gives to us, right? Is it
right.
possible that God could lie to us? Because God has no obligation to tell us the truth. God could tell us whatever He wants to tell us. Could God be lying?
True, true. He could be lying.
And how would we be
But
able to
if
verify whether He's lying or telling us the truth?
Well, we wouldn't be able to verify that because we will be living under the scope in which the frame of the world that God created, right? So that's where trust comes in, right? And it
Yeah.
seems like everything, just like the prior brother that was here, right? when he talked about truth, right? Truth can come from anything that's even outside of the Christian worldview, right? Muslims can speak things that are truthful. Uh, Other religious, people can speak things that are truthful. Even unbelievers can speak things that are truthful. But those things that are truthful seems to divert back to the characteristics and the commands and a lot of things that's said in the Bible. It reverts back to God, right? So I would think that if God is true, right, if he is truth, that he wouldn't be a liar. That if everything in the world kind of points back to him, he would be a man of his word. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Based on
but
what his
there's
word says.
yeah, but there's no way to verify whether God is being truthful or whether God is being false. And
Yeah, it would be impossible because we're finite beings. It would be
yeah,
impossible
so
to verify that.
so standing on that ground, I mean, the Bible might be true or the Bible might be false. We don't even know.
Yeah, but that's the only way for you to see if it's false is to test it, right? Is to live by the commands that the Bible tells you and see how it benefits you. See how your life became or how your life turns out after you've applied the things that's written in the Bible. And I would say that a lot of people that have, like a lot of Christians that have actually applied the Bible and live according to his word will show you that yes, that God's word is true and that it does bring about uh, good results or a good process of life or good, more fulfilling life after they followed it,
Oh, yeah, but I
even
guess
with the
like
pain and suffering.
yeah, some of the teachings in the Bible can lead to you living like a good life or feeling better or feeling good, right? But just because you follow the teachings of the Bible and you live a good life or it makes you feel good, it doesn't necessarily mean that like the Christian God exists or that he's like true. It could mean it could just be that it's an inspiring or like moving book, right? Or maybe the teachings are good in and of themselves, but not necessarily proving that like God exists. But how else would we know that the Bible is true?
I would,
We
I,
could,
I would
go.
kind of give you some pushback there because I would say if if someone has given you kind of like the key to a lot of life's issues and situations, right?
Yeah,
Um, and those things tend to make your life, the outcomes of your life and your mental thought process of life 10 times better. That they will show that there is something in that. That there is something that is a cornerstone of the life that we live in. You know what I mean?
but I would challenge that with what about Satanism? Like there are people who are followers of Satanism, and the rules and the teachings that they get from Satanism allow them to live really amazing lives, and they seem happy and fulfilled. Does that mean that Satanism is true?
That's kind of nuanced because I think it's more than just the life that you're living that's making you good, right? It's more of like also if that life that you're living, if it impacts others on a better scale, right?
But
If
for Satanists, it does. It impacts the people around them, and they seem to be happy. The people who are friends with Satanists might be moved by Satanism and join Satanism. And I've had some conversations with Satanists that have made me feel good and um, live a better life. Would you say that that makes Satanism true?
I would say to some degree, I would say that some of the things they may have done can have some good things that come about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, there is some good that can come from living your life on its own, right? Um, but I think just like for example, a lot of things that God may have taught, right? With us understanding how sin works, right? Like when Jesus said, "A person that looks at a woman with lust has committed adultery in his heart already." So there seems to be that God's laws wasn't just dictated to actions, but it was also dictated to your thought life, the way you think. You have to change the way you think, the way not just the way you act. And also how in the book of Leviticus it talks about how sin had a it defiled the land that they were living in. So also your wrongdoings affects nature, right? These are just among many other ways in which it's not just a personal happiness, but it's also a betterment for the environment. It's also a betterment for the society. It's also a betterment for you personally. It's so much more dynamics that those doesn't just revert to you inward, but also outward and all around you.
Well, yeah, but like
Whereas,
you can also find that in like other religions, like Buddhism
true,
focuses on self-improvement and like meditating and dealing with things internally, and it also might even have effects on the external, right? If you become like a better person, you might affect the people around you and the world around you in like good ways, but that doesn't necessarily make that thing that they believe in true or somehow some, somehow like true or in some way reality in some sense. It could just be like a subjective reality. But I guess like the point I'm trying to make is the fact that like a belief system might have positive impacts on one's life or maybe the things around it doesn't necessarily make it true, because we have like tons of different religions that have that similar like effect on people. And so like the emphasis should probably be more so on evaluating the claims that that religion makes than like how it makes people feel or the effects it has on the environment around it, because tons of religions that contradict with each other have that effect on like the world and the people that follow it.
I would agree. I would agree, but like I say, well, like you say, even if you look at the claims that uh, Christianity make, all of the claims and all of the teachings seem to revert back to the same God. And also, even on the teachings, like you said, um, how things that Buddhists teach, right? I mean, let make their lives better. I mean, make the world around them better. It seems compared to Christianity, compared to every other religion, there seems to be a symphony in which the rules that that person lives by, the commands they live by, that makes just not just their lives better, uh, but it's like a perfect symphony of how it all translates back to God and how it all translates back to there seems to be a knowledge, a more deeper revelation of the world that we live in, as also as well as the world that we'll be going to, well, we believe we'll be going to when we pass away. It seems to be a much greater depth in the Christian God than there is with any other religion,
Mm,
and I think that's something we can evaluate.
mm, I would say so. I guess the feelings thing isn't really compelling to me, but like what events or like and what other aspects would you say like the Bible is true? Because like for a lot of the events in the Bible, there's no way of like verifying it for me, and I don't think like a lot of the events in the Bible are true. Like when it comes to a global flood, that would kind of like be impossible, right? Because given like how much water it would take to like cover everything on Earth, right? That would generate a lot of heat and like literally destroy the Earth several times over. So I don't think the flood happened, and I don't really have much like empirical evidence. Historians don't have much empirical evidence of like a mass exodus from Egypt, being that Moses kind of freed the Jews from the Egyptians, right? Um, we don't really have historical evidence of that, and it would be like it's literally like impossible to like split the Red Sea, and we don't really have evidence of that. Some people might bring up like chariots in the ocean, but there are several articles that describe how that's been debunked by historians that have explored those claims. But for a lot of events in the Bible, um, they're not really representative of like the reality around us. What would you say to that?
I would say, well, based on what you said based on you said a lot of things in the Bible doesn't seem to be relative to the world that we live in. I would say, can you elaborate on that? Like, can you tell me what in the Bible that doesn't relate to our reality that we live in?
Well, I would say like so when we talk about the global flood, right? With Noah's Ark, it said that Noah built an ark and the world was flooded for 40 days and 40 nights. The amount of water that it would take, these things were scientifically like calculated, and articles have been written about this. The amount of water it would take to cover the entire Earth and flood it for 40 days and 40 nights, the amount of heat that would generate, given the weight of the water and other aspects and characteristics of water, that would destroy the earth. It would be uninhabitable after the water went away after the 40 days and the 40 days and the 40 nights. Not only that, the timeline doesn't really match up with that. The amount of time it would take for vegetation and animals to repopulate the earth and have children and regenerate, it doesn't really line up with like our world or the age of our world. So there's a lot of scientific problems with like Noah's Ark and whether that would even be feasible to have happened.
Well, I think that depends on, when you have a biblical worldview, if you believe that the God that we believe in has full control, and because he's all powerful, that he will be able to control those things in a way in which the world wouldn't be destroyed, where those things can occur, where it wouldn't. I think having a God who created the world based on just his voice alone, with the power of his words alone, it gives infinite possibilities on anything that can happen in the Bible because of his infinite power. So though those things may occur, I think there have been scientific discoveries where not even the scientists can understand how a thing had happened or why it occurs when a certain other outcome should have occurred based on the probabilities and the outcomes that were there, that were present. I can't name any right now off the top of my head, but I've after looking at like different scientific videos, there were times where scientists said, "Hey, we know that this happened, but we can't explain it. Like we can't explain how this happened because X, Y, and Z. When these particles get together, this should be the outcome, but that's not what happened."
Well, yeah. So
And
like, oh, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were finished.
yeah, I would say so. That's could be a leeway as to why God can do a thing without the world being completely destroyed. And I also think there's historical evidence for the Exodus in Egypt as well.
Okay, before we get to the Exodus thing, I would say, yeah, like if we grant that God exists, and God's all powerful, then yeah, he's able to do anything that he wants, and like yeah, the flood then becomes possible. But as of right now, where we are, right, we can't prove that God exists. So like that kind of is up in the air. But what we do have is observations and science and the empirical data, right, about how our world works and the physics of our world, and that in and of itself, that information is like very reliable, very testable, and it doesn't really line up with like the claims that are being made in the Bible. So we have like empirical evidence and like what we can observe about the world giving us one thing and saying that the flood is impossible. But is it possible with God? Yes, but there's no way to verify that God exists empirically or in any sense. So to believe that the flood actually happened, that would require like a lot of faith, and it's not matching up with what we do have. We don't have proof that God exists, but we do have science and physics that is saying that the flood didn't really happen. So it's seeming more likely that it didn't happen given how our world operates and the lack of proof we have for God. And it sort of seems as if like maybe it was a story to describe something that they didn't really understand at the time. I've heard people even talk about like the literature and say that like it might have been describing like a local flood, and the people that were there locally would have said like the whole world's being flooded, but it was just like a local region maybe. But
Mm. I would give you some pushback there and say that even though science can explain a lot, it doesn't explain everything. And that's what I said. Like I said, there's a lot of things that science can't give an answer for, right? There's a lot of things that science cannot even explain. It's unexplainable to scientists even today, according to their measure or their rules in which they use to prove if something exists or something happened or not. You know, so from that, in the same way you can say that a Christian shouldn't chuck up everything to the non-existence of God, the same way atheists can't use science to be the end-all cure-all to everything that exists, because the very fact that science has things that it hasn't proved or it can't prove within the tools that it uses to prove a thing exists or not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say like yeah, science doesn't really explain everything. There are still like holes in our understanding in regards to like physics or other branches of science, neuroscience, and stuff like that. But is it honest to say? Is it more honest to say like I don't know, and we're still running tests and trying to figure it out, or to assume that it's God and put God in there? Um, what do you think?
I think it's both. I think it depends on the tools in which you use to measure uh, the existence of God, right? Because God is unseen and He can't be detected, right? We would have to use means of psychology or means of logic, means that are more invisible, right? But they still have an impact on us, right? We would have to use tools that are in those categories versus tools that are in science, and for those tools to be the end all cure all. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on the tools that you're using to determine uh, those evaluations. That's what I would say.
But like, I'm not sure if that answers my question. Let's say that let's say that we used all the tools, we did all the investigations, but we couldn't like get to an answer on like what is causing this phenomenon. Would it be like more honest to say like, I don't know, I don't really have the data, or I can't really come to a conclusion on what might be causing this, or would it be more honest to do that, or to say God is doing it, and there's not really data or like any kind of measurable evidence to suggest that God is like causing this phenomenon that we can't explain with all the research and like information we have.
Yeah, so that's why I said it would be more of like logic. You know what I mean? Because one of the things, like I said here, right? There's some things that happen that are outside of our scope of knowing, or outside of our scope of, like I said, with the fallen tree, right? You
Yeah.
we can't examine that, right? We can't determine that, but we know what happens. We see the evidence of it, right? So things that can't be explained, like where does wind come from, right? Where does wind originate from? Or how wind happens and air happens is around us, but we can't physically see it, right?
Yeah.
Um, there are some things that happen in this world that's undetected, and I think you can't necessarily use tools or one category to determine everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like in that case, right? Let's say we didn't understand like how wind works, right? And we felt wind. Would it be more honest to say, I don't know how wind is occurring. I need to do more research. I need to like look into it. I just don't really have like the data to give an explanation for why this natural occurrence is happening. Would it be more honest to say like I don't know in that versus jumping to the conclusion that like God is causing winds to happen. It must be God. It's definitely God.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from. I guess is at the end of the day is always going to require some amount of faith, you know, um, because like you said, you can't fully examine an invisible God. This is me, touch on me, feel me, I'm God, I created you, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be a level of faith and trust that comes into that. I think it just depends on the person that's interpreting, the heart of the person, the understanding of the person that's interpreting that data, that of the world around us.
Yeah. Well, I guess like I guess yeah. I guess some people would have faith there, right? But for me, like given the data, given the information, right? I personally think that it would be more honest to say like for the natural phenomenon that we don't really know what the cause of it is. I would say it'd be more honest to say like I don't know, and um, putting God in there, without anything to really hint at God, that's a huge leap of faith, and it doesn't really lead to truth. And oftentimes it can lead to even harm. Given like the previous examples I mentioned. But give me one sec. I'll be right back. I gotta go do something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm back.
Hey, controversial. I'm actually gonna head out. But I appreciate you for having me, man, and having this. It's been a great conversation, man. It's been a good talking piece. I've learned
Yeah.
some things, and I pray that you have considered some things as well.
Yeah, feel free to come back. I enjoyed the conversation too. Sorry I had to like go. I had to deal with
No,
something.
you're good. You're good, man. You're good. And I give you a like, man. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right, have a blessed one.
You have a good one too. Come back anytime.
All right, definitely.
But hey guys, I'm chilling. A lot of good conversations today. Not no spicy debates. But I really enjoyed the conversations. I really like talking with people. I learned some things today, I think. I heard people's testimonies and I really like that. I learned a new concept or a new theory, the steady state theory. That's like something that's like new to me, but it was describing something I oftentimes talk about, which is like infinite regress. But yeah, what is the steady state theory? The steady state theory is a cosmological model that suggests the universe is constantly expanding while maintaining a constant average density. This theory was proposed by 1948. This theory was proposed in 1948 by Fred Hoyle, Herman Bondi, and Thomas Gold. I learned that today. That's one takeaway I got from this live, so thanks for that. I do have a guest that's in the guest request. I'll bring you up in a sec, but thank you guys for being here. It's pretty cool live so far. I'm enjoying it. If you want to, please tap the screen, like the live. It gets me on the For You page, gets more people in here. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the gifts. It allows me to like do more, host more lives like this, create more content, and maybe do this for a living. I really appreciate you guys. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. I'm enjoying it. It's pretty fun, and honestly, I wouldn't want to do anything else this evening. I just want to be here and with you guys. Thank you guys. Love all of you guys, and I'll bring up the next guest. I think it's one of my friends that's smarter than me and a really amazing person. But bringing up Kason.
Hello.
What's up? You've got 14 minutes before I open it up into panel.
Well, yeah, that's what I'd said. I was like, you can wait to bring me up if you want until the panel, because I don't really know what I would say in debate with you. Let me think here.
Your God is false.
Okay, why do you think that?
I don't know. I'm kidding. All I'm gonna do is like do Problem of Evil, Divine Hiddenness. You've heard this. We've done this before. I don't know.
Okay, let's see if I can say anything that's new to you or that would make you think.
In regards to like Problem of Evil.
Whatever you want.
Actually, okay, I can bring this up. There is this one thing that I thought was very clever that I may or may not use in a future debate that I might be having. This might be kind of like making my argument weak because I'm giving it away. But there was one time that I was listening to a live, and someone asked the question, did Abraham have free will when God commanded him to sacrifice his son, and an angel stopped him before the consequence ensued? So like God said, please sacrifice your son, right? And Abraham, put him on the table, tied him up, right? And then got the sharp object, and as he was about to do it, right, an angel stopped him. Did he have free will? Did he make the choice? It would seem as if he did, but the consequence doesn't entail free will or the ability to make choices, right?
Are you just asking me if you had free will then?
Yeah.
Under my view, yeah.
So, I heard someone use that in a live, and it kind of stumped the Christian, and it was sort of a good point. And then they ask, why can't God do that for everything, right? We make choices, and we follow through with them, but before the consequences entailed, God stops the consequence.
Yeah, presumably for us to learn, what our actions are actually doing, we would need to see the consequences. I think consequences in the world, regardless of what they inherently are, in some bigger picture, are going to provide meaning in certain contexts and relevance to that specific story. Relevant to that specific story, well, that's reliant on how I even interpret that story, whether or not it happened. But even disregarding that, I can concede to the idea that maybe sometimes it's better for the consequences to not come about. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you think there are just probably other ways God could teach us what actions are wrong or what actions are right without consequence ensuing?
I'm sure, but it's just I don't think that might just be some specific answer to that specific area. But when God's making decisions, I don't think he's only taking into consideration one specific thing or the specific thing, rather a multitude of things. So I don't know if that makes much sense, though.
Yeah, it makes sense. God is all-knowing, and there's probably a ton of variables that we can't see that he's probably considering.
Mm-hmm.
But given that's the case, we can only work with the information that we have. Right?
Yeah, true. See, that's good. That's a good thing. I was gonna say you don't want to let someone run with that and then get to the point where they kind of think that we can't really make proclamative claim. Damn, I cannot say that word. Okay. I don't know if you just heard me try to say that word, but if you didn't, I'm pretty happy because I just absolutely messed that up. But
okay, I'm actually glad that I just did that, because usually when people say that, I kind of get stumped. They're like, well, don't you think God is seeing more than we see? So whatever God's decision is, it's probably the best one, and we as human beings can't judge his decision. And then I'm like, what do I even say to that?
yeah, well, that's them resorting to skeptical theism, and if they do that, you can go look at how philosophers address skeptical theism. I think maybe even Malpass has certain responses to it, but the Christian or the theist isn't going to want to say that we can't have any knowledge. They might it might be hard to draw the boundaries, but you could maybe endorse some form of slight skeptical theism. I don't really know how one would go about doing it, but maybe just saying we can't be too affirmative in some of our cases that we make, but obviously we still have to work with the relevant information that we have. I really don't. I'm not a skeptical theist, so I'm not too sure how someone would go about it. But
okay, here, I'm gonna let up Mob, but if anyone wants to debate me, type in debate in the comment section, and I will kick the guest off and bring you up to debate. Although at 10 o'clock I'll be opening it up to a panel, which most likely I'm going to be chilling with my friends or anybody that wants to join. So just putting that out there. Mob, if you want to run Fortnite right now, sure.
Do you want to do it? I'm applying for jobs right now. I got to do a couple more.
Don't worry. Okay.
How many jobs do you think you should apply to a day?
3.
20.
Okay, that's a big difference. 3 and 20.
I would say I apply for maybe 10 jobs a day actually, and then probably quit messages.
What do you say, Kason?
I have no clue. He probably knows more than me on this, but I'd just say 5. I don't know.
It's just so fucking annoying, dude. You have to okay, you read a job, okay, I like this. Now I gotta write a cover letter. I gotta tailor my resume. I gotta go through that whole fucking they have their own thing on their website you gotta fill out. It's so annoying.
Guys, I turned 20 today.
Happy birthday!
It's your birthday?
Yeah, thank you.
Happy birthday!
I'm finally all grown up. I'm 1 year away from being at the adult table.
Yeah, how do you feel being 1 year away from being able to being able to partake in alcoholism?
Indoors. it's I'm not sure yet. I don't
Jason, you want to run some Fortnite?
Not right now.
Alright. Dude, we should play Rocket League.
I should download Rocket League.
Dude, it's so fucking fun.
That probably costs. It's probably free. It's free, right?
It's free.
Let's see.
Okay, Mob, what's the argument against God's existence?
Oh, good lead.
Hold on. Give me a second. Let me open up Felipe Leon's blog.
You don't have one. That's the actual problem.
Thank you for the.
I'm not an atheist. Jesus.
Thank you for the gifts, guys. The gifts help me to like do more lives like this and like do this for a living. And
Alright, pick a number, Casey.
so
Oh, sorry,
I was
Coco.
asking you guys.
55.
55. Okay. 55. The argument for moral psychology. Okay. This says the problem of error is an old argument for atheism that can be found in medieval and early modern philosophy. Although it is not widely discussed in the contemporary literature and philosophy of religion, I resurrect it and give it a modern spin. By relying on empirical studies in moral psychology that demonstrate the moral judgments from human beings are generally susceptible to certain psychological biases, such as framing and order effects, I claim that if God is responsible for making human beings such that we have these biases... Huh?
They sent the brew to Kason. I thought they sent it to me, but then they sent another brew.
Man, just stop reading this. What are you doing?
So, I claim that if God is responsible for making human beings such that we have these biases, this means that God is not a perfect being. The findings of human psychology create a problem for the existence of God, traditionally conceived. Huh, interesting. I want to see. Dude, it's so fucking annoying not being in school anymore. Like, it's so hard to find papers. Oh, this one's free.
All arguments... Actually, I'm not going to say that. Most arguments against God just fail.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised a Christian would say that. Most arguments just fail in general.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Graham Oppie on that one.
That is actually true.
He doesn't even have a formal argument in this paper. I'm like skimming it. Once it's like, okay, anyway, so yeah, that's the argument. Do you wanna deal with it, or do you want to pick a new number?
Well, Slurm said to just shut up already.
Oh, he's a mod. I can't mute him. Oh man.
I should add more mods. More because there's a lot of other people that should have been mod.
I want to go through this entire list. All 200. He has 239 arguments.
T-minus 4 minutes until panel time.
Yeah.
Coco, pick a number.
3.
3? Ro pick 3. Okay. 3 is Oppie's cosmological argument for naturalism.
9.
And well, I guess, yeah, it's a whole book. It's an entire book he linked.
I was about to say.
What
The argument from PSR to monism. Goff's conceivability argument for atheism.
Someone followed me, and their name is hamster, parentheses, point,
Dude.
parentheses, point, parentheses, like hamster, and then like, oops.
Coco, your mic is it just me, or is this mic like so terrible? I can't even like understand him.
Me?
Yeah.
My mic?
It sounds so muffled.
Oh, I thought people were like understanding me this whole time.
Wait, let me try something. Okay, now talk.
What's up?
Say like a whole sentence.
I really love women. Okay.
Now I can hear you fine. I think your mic was being drowned out by Cason's. Because sometimes...
What?
No, it's not. You're not loud, Cason. It's just some people's mics are weird. They get quiet when they notices others are talking or whatever.
Am I like superior in some type of way? I'm confused.
You could say that. Arguments from order. What? Wilson's Everettian conditional argument from fine tuning? For atheism? What the fuck?
Mob, do you think there's a necessary being?
What do you mean by being?
Okay, just basically thing. Like we can just sum it up to thing.
What do you mean by thing?
Just some particular. I mean, not anything. You know, just something that exists. Not anything too interesting there.
Like,
I'm not trying to. I'm pretty sure it's. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to bake anything in there.
No, I'm just wondering because, like, I think there are necessary propositions.
Okay. Yeah, there's that distinction. What's the? This is why the. I'm saying I'm like book here, but I'm like reading a whole book on existence just so I can get my view fleshed out. Because when people say, "How do you define existence?" I actually don't think it's as too simple as people maybe think it is. But how would you maybe just go? I mean, would you just say some concrete thing in order to not categorize necessary propositions as well?
Anything that can be quantified over the existential quantifier.
Oh, wait, I just realized you were connected to my headphones. I didn't hear what you said.
I don't know, anything, you just quantify it over the existential quantifier, and then it exists. I don't know, it depends what you mean. People use that word, like some people use it as a predicate. They'll be like, unicorns exist. And I'll be like, no, they don't.
Oh yeah, no, like that's the whole book I'm reading right now. Like it talks about the different uses of the word exist, and it makes arguments for existence being a real property, despite like the arguments from Quine Russell and all of them.
Oh, so it does argue for existence as a predicate?
Yeah, it's actually I don't know if you saw it, but it's this guy. His work has gone pretty unnoticed over the years, but I'm just going to check out his work and see if it's actually anything interesting. But yeah, he defends that pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, I'm not read up on the literature on that stuff, but I do know Kant? Is it Kant who said it? Wait. Hold on, give me a minute. Yeah, it might be Kant who said that you can't because
Oh yeah, he said existence isn't a predicate. Yeah, if that's what you're trying to bring up.
but he had a reason. It was like one was we don't need it.
It's unnecessary. Like I know the whole common like thought behind it is, you know, if you're going to say that something, if you're going to predicate existence of a thing and say that it exists as a property, I'm not sure where the issue comes in strictly, but you're going to want to say that you can't predicate the property of existence of a thing unless the thing exists first. But how does a thing exist? Or how does the thing exist first if it doesn't? Like, I don't know. There's some like whole thing to it. I think I'm messing it up pretty badly.
And apparently you can define things into existence if you do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out where like I'm sure it comes with a set of baggage and what all goes with it, but I'm gonna have to check it out. I have the book right in front of me.
Coco, you know what I'm started reading? Started reading the problem of evil for atheists.
You know, I don't think that's too good.
Yeah, I watched the interview Fan did with the author. It doesn't seem too interesting.
Can you hear me good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's just like pointing out that there can be an axiological mismatch in like atheistic worldviews as well. And he wants to say that like, you know, just calling the problem of evil a problem for traditional theists isn't too sympathetic to what it actually is. The problem of evil is actually just referring to an axiological mismatch, which is most of the time laid upon the theistic worldview because there's more tension there. But the whole optimistic atheists have axiological mismatch, and
a way to, overcome this axiological mismatch just to adhere to theism so you can explain it. Like, I think that's so dumb because I feel like someone would just stop being an optimist instead of just going to theism. If like
Yeah.
that, I don't know. I don't know how far you've gotten into the book, but
No, I started reading it and I stopped for a couple of days. I was just at the part where, wait, did you read it?
I read I think 100 pages of it, the first 100
Okay.
pages.
I'm just I'm at very beginning. He's talking about the three kinds. Actually, no, I'm past that part. The three parts of you. I don't know. I remember him talking about Mackie as an example.
Oh yeah, like where he goes through like how they kind of characterize their own arguments falsely and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but Coco, we should go through this entire blog.
I was thinking about it, but
We do one post. I don't know. We do like one every couple days or something. In a year, we can finish this entire blog, and we'll have over 200 arguments to destroy with.
Dude, I was a dad.
Coco, do you want over 200 arguments to destroy this with?
Did you? I didn't mean to. Yeah. Did you happen to read Than's maximalist approach to the Gospels and Acts?
Yeah, it didn't actually seem that much different than the minimalist.
Well, I forgot who it was. I think I could be wrong. It might have been Dwight, but some atheists that we know commented, this is actually really good in comparison to the minimalist argument. And I didn't have enough time to actually pay attention to that video, but I was like, huh.
Wait,
Can I ask a question?
Hey, Muhammad.
What do you want?
Okay, so
What?
hello? My bad. So as a numerologist, because no matter what you think about that, I've been doing this for 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
You have a degree in numerology?
Huh? I can look at people's birthdays and
You have a
tell to a
master's
certain
degree in
degree
numerology,
what
though?
they'll look like, what their personality is going to be like.
Okay,
if
so
any of
can
you
you
guys-
can you
So
wait,
if
can
any
you
of
tell
you
me
guys
what I
are willing
look
to put
like?
up your birthday for me, I'd be honored.
Yeah,
And let me
October
take a reading
my
off
birthday.
that information.
My
tell
birthday's today,
Tell us what Kaysen looks like.
and
in
my
real life.
birthday's today.
No. I need the full birthday.
But my
tell us what
birthday's
he looks like.
today.
What's your year, Greg?
October. Oh yeah, 2004.
Wait, before that, can you verify your
Month
age?
and day.
Wait, can you verify your
Today, October 29th.
age? Can you verify his age? He sounds young.
Look, where's he going?
He's chilling. Look, he's
Yeah,
going.
what's 11. I can tell that you're a very hardworking man.
Wait,
I'm actually not. I'm lazy as
Nah,
shit.
you are.
can you
Nah, you are, bro. You're just saying that. Let's be real. You're very hardworking.
tell me what year?
Jason, give him a day. I can tell that you're a very conservative man. You're a man of your word. When you say something, you're gonna go out.
Okay, you sound young.
Quick question. If I say that, if I say that the negation of all propositions is always an affirmation,
Ah, shit.
would you disagree? So when I'll give you an example. When an atheist says, "I don't believe in God," what they're actually saying is, "I believe that I don't believe in God."
No.
No.
Okay, so you're saying that if an atheist says, "I don't believe in God," it is false that they believe that they don't believe in God. So you believe that they don't believe in God?
That's just a lot of semantics stuff. I mean, if someone says they don't believe in God, I'm just gonna interpret that as their credence level isn't over 0.5.
Right.
And so,
But is it true that they believe that they don't have enough credence to believe in God?
do they believe?
Yeah, to deny this is actually silly, honestly. I don't know. I think it's painfully obvious that if I ask Coco right now, "Hey Coco, do you believe that you don't believe in God?" And he's going to say yes.
For a second, like 5 seconds ago, I put all this through my head and it sounded stupid, and then I forgot where it went stupid. So let me think for a second.
Okay, so Coco, do you believe that you don't believe in God?
I don't know.
So Coco, just to clarify, you don't know if you believe that you don't believe in God?
Yes.
Does that make a lick of fucking sense to you? Sorry for cussing. No, hang on. Type it on your computer, okay? Before I get slurred and someone reminds me to get off. By the way, my daughter was born today, 8:14 in the morning. She's beautiful. Everything's great. You guys all need to get into analytic philosophy because y'all are ass.
What day?
Yes. What today?
What's the day?
It's Tuesday. Okay, so just to clarify, right?
What day is your daughter's birthday?
Dark, what the fuck are you doing in this fucking box, bro?
Listen, man. Listen, I'm just at home. I just took a shower. Everything's good. They're still at the hospital. Everything's gravy, right? I came up with a thought.
No,
I
this is
need
an
it
excuse.
analyzed,
This is an
Chris.
excuse. I don't care.
Chris, I need it analyzed, right? I need the atheist to realize that they can't be an atheist because it's actually true that they don't, or that they believe they don't believe in God. That's what they believe, that they actually do believe in something. They believe in everything.
Okay, how much did your baby weigh?
believe your mom.
She weighed 8 pounds and 8 ounces.
Oh, congratulations. Now get the fuck out of this box, bro.
What else am I going to do? Listen, I'm just chilling.
Wait, you had a kid?
Oh, that's my second
Yeah, you
kid.
had a baby this morning. No,
Yeah, I'm going to teach them.
Oh
listen.
my God.
I'm going to
Congrats,
teach
man.
them analytic philosophy, right? You have kids, you teach them analytic philosophy, and then when we're in the dirt, right? One of them's getting smoked.
It's going to be you.
That's hilarious because nobody has an argument against the reality that atheists believe that they don't believe in God.
What?
That's true.
I do believe
That's
that I don't
true.
believe.
I still find your conversation with J Mike very interesting. It was extremely interesting to me the way that went.
Yeah, I'm telling you, analytic Phil is S tier across the board because every single verbal dispute is semantically charged. Every single one. And if an individual doesn't care about the semantics, they don't care to understand the conversation they're having.
I was talking to someone while that conversation was going on about what y'all were going back and forth with, and it was really funny. I wish you would have pressed him harder, though, on grounding his worldview and what his worldview was, because it was like he kept wiggling out of the corner you put him in, and you were doing the shark thing and playing with him.
Well, that's what analytic Phil does. Like, watch this. So many people just produce JTB as their definition of knowledge. But if you ask them, hey, how do you separate that from understanding and how do you define understanding? I guarantee you 9 out of 10 of them couldn't coherently do it. Because they're not interested in forming a worldview of their own that they understand. All they're doing is regurgitating literature over and over of the worldview of dead dudes.
That's interesting that you say that. I've never thought of it like that.
Ones too.
Ask any, watch. Hey, Mom, can you define understanding right now, or to understand, or understand?
No.
Kaysen, could you define understand?
Why not?
Hey, Coco, could you define understand? Here we are, right? All trying to pretend like we want
Coco,
knowledge.
do you understand?
We can't even define understand.
Hey, Shark, would you say that understand is the ability to comprehend information that's
I don't know.
presented to you?
I haven't been able to figure it out yet. I'm still thinking about it.
Wait, welcome epistemic.
Oh, dude, Cage, perfect guy, man. Listen, man, y'all need to embrace epistemic nihilism because you can't know shit. And the saddest part is you know the saddest part? In your pursuit of trying to know things that you can't know, you fail to understand everything.
How was the baby? That's all I came.
Amazing. 8 pounds, 8 ounces, 20 inches long, fucking beautiful. She's calm, she's gorgeous, man. I got 6 shovels if anyone wants to fucking try me.
Shovels and
Why only
5.5, 6 by 45 NATO. I got you.
Oh, all I need is 6, brother. Anything more than 6 is too many.
All you need is one in the right spot.
I can reuse the shovels.
Yeah, all you need is one in the right spot, bro.
Hey, here you go. Cage. I'm pressing every atheist from this moment forward, and I hope, listen, man, I can't be on here as much as I was, right? It's nighttime now. They're still at the hospital. I'm putting my son to bed. Okay?
Why don't you press the theist,
I need
too?
you. Ma! I need you, Cage, to make them realize that when they say they don't believe in God, they're actually saying, I believe that I don't believe in God.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not going to be fine to them. That's going to ruffle their jimmies.
Shark, have you been
matter?
holding
Do you see
your
Coco
daughter
right now?
all day?
His
Where's
jimmies
his
are
energy?
ruffled.
Dude, Coco's sweating right now. Look at him.
He's ruffled.
The adrenaline, like Shark, fuck, it's been 12 hours since the birth, man. How are you still this amped up?
Listen, brother, I'm more amped up than ever before, man. Okay? Life is beautiful. We can create life. We are capable of wisdom and rationality. Okay? And I promise you there's a world out there besides your subjective opinions you don't understand. Okay? I promise you.
See, this
For
is
the
the
love of God,
benefit.
Coco, believe in something. I don't care what you believe in. Believe that you desire to understand. Okay?
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's great. We talk about philosophy a lot, but one of the joys about philosophy is the actualization of experience, and Shark's had that.
Golly, man. Golly, life is beautiful, man. I can't express it enough. You're all alive. You have the ability to utilize will in a free manner. And if it's not free, it's the most free experience you may ever experience, right? You don't have free choice. You can't flap your arms and fly like a bird, okay? But you can have an intentional state, and your intentional state should be rational and considerate to others. Because it's a part of your mind-independent nature, by the way. Natural law theory, W.
I wonder what she'll be like in 10 years, Shark. And I hope
Oh,
I'm
dude, she's going to be a philosophical wizard, or
Probably.
you.
We're so fucked.
Fuck, I hope she's not purporting philosophy at 10 years of age.
oh man, like she can be whatever she wants, man. I'll support her. She just can't be doing hood rat shit. You know what I mean? If she's doing hood rat shit, then I failed.
I want to stay in your life until 18. Oh, the jokes. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Not the jokes about her. The jokes about you. Oh, it's gonna be great. I can't wait until
We gotta
like
sit.
one
We gotta
day.
sit. We gotta sit on a lake. Just pop open a brewski and just like talk about life, man. Oh man.
Soon.
Gee willikers. Coco, listen, man. You've had a lot of time to process. How does it feel that you believe that you don't believe in God?
Shark, every time you talk to me, I have an existential crisis. Like, what?
Hey man, listen. You should be happy right now. You believe in something.
Like, Shark, I don't know. Like, I spent all day talking to Christians. I don't know, man.
Listen, embrace epistemic nihilism. He's right, man. We don't know shit.
Hey, do you remember the lab you were in with me this morning with a psychopath gibbering about nothing?
Well, technically, I didn't spend all day. I spent like a couple hours talking.
I actually have a shit memory. Like I don't remember things that happened 6 hours ago, to be honest with you.
That's horrible. You should work on that.
I
The guy that
should.
was going at Aspen about being
Oh,
anti-Semitic.
that guy. That was last night. What do you mean
Yes.
this morning? That was like at
It was
2
this
in the
morning.
morning.
Can I just
Yeah,
get
2 in the morning.
can
Okay,
I
that's
can I
right.
just get a definition of understanding, please? And there must be a symmetry breaker between knowledge. Thank you.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not
Ability
interested
to
in
perceive and
yeah,
comprehend the
I'm on
knowledge that's being presented.
Cage. I'm on your team, man. Knowledge is not accessible to human beings, even if it does exist. But we may have access to understanding. I'm on your team.
Why is it every day somebody says, you know, Cage, I fucking hated your position 2 months ago, but now it's making sense. It's like, what am I
Listen,
doing?
can you listen? I'm willing to adopt yours if you realize that the focus should be on understanding and what it means to understand.
Yeah, I try to do that every day.
Okay,
I try
define
to
it.
wrap my mind around
Define
and
it.
comprehend things.
Define it.
Well, when I say I'm asking somebody, well, I don't ask them, do you understand? I usually ask some sort of comprehension question. And a comprehension question is just to show if they can re-articulate my point, or I guess have some sort of insight as to what I'm trying to tell them.
What if it's the ability to steelman somebody's position?
Yeah, that's fine. That's like a performance or analogy.
Yeah, because like they don't have to actually like communicate it. They just have to have the ability to steelman it, even in their own mind.
Yeah, that's good.
How do we have 49 people in here?
Okay. So to understand until further notice, and this is me and Cage's definition. If anybody tries to steal it, is the ability to steelman an alternate proposition, or a proposition opposed to your own.
Shark didn't have a baby this morning. This is why I hate men. See, this is exactly why.
Who?
The wife had a baby,
Well, that's-
then
yeah, but-
Cage.
There you go. Did you take any of my advice, by the way?
What?
I'm
Because
I
Keiko,
read it.
guessing
I
you
took it
didn't
in mind. It
fucking
was
sleep
beautiful. I
this
was there
morning.
for, you know what I mean? Dog, it was beautiful. It was, brother, today was a beautiful day, man. Today was good. Today was golden. Today was miraculous. Like, I felt like I was the closest to touching agape today, man. Like, oh, man.
You don't you
he was
understand? I
8
gave you this
pounds.
advice because you're gonna crash in about 4 hours, and then you're gonna
Yeah,
be
the adrenaline's gonna get you
Oh, there's not
going.
going to be
It's
any
gonna
crash. No, you
be.
don't understand. What do you mean crash?
there's gonna Shark. I'm telling you right now. I promise you, from my empiricism foundation,
Listen,
you're going to
Shark
crash.
already has one kid, so he's fine.
Yeah, what do you mean? Like, this isn't my first rodeo. Like, this is like, brother, it's just like, essentially, this is just like some kind of like low tier awakening where I'm just like, all right, I got energy again. I need to like use all of the understanding and literature that I've gained over the past year and just fucking execute with it. Do something, man.
What's that called? Mania? Is that the
Shut the
term?
fuck up, Precept.
It is type of a mania is like irrational emotions. I think having a baby born into the world is perfectly rational to have some
Look,
heightened.
Coco, he got on my nerves yesterday. He's
Listen, I'm
fucking
still
pounding
convinced he's an
me.
atheist. I'm truly convinced P. Mars is